and silence through the night. What a thrill. I'm searching and I'll melt into you. What a fear in my heart, but you're so supreme.
Good evening. Welcome to the 22nd episode of the Worldwide Company of Gamers podcast. How are you doing tonight, fam? Good evening, everyone. Already the chat is lit, excited, hyped. I'm sure you've been hyped about this episode because we have probably the biggest event in recent gaming history to discuss, and not just discuss, we're gonna break it all down, my dudes. We're gonna discuss the entirety of the acquisition of Activision Blizzard, acquired by Xbox, or Microsoft rather. We're going to discuss the deal, the why, the risk. Believe it or not, there is a risk. The impact, and most importantly, the facts. We're going to get down to the nitty-gritty facts, and we have the best panel in the universe to do that with. But first of all, I'd like to give a shout out to all you absolute beauties in the chat. All of you, Toolman, Brian King, Retro, Family Man Gamer, Nelson Gaming, what's good, brother? My boy Axel, Samiro-san, Ryan C, Oti is in the chat. Hi, Oti. We have,
I'm good. I'm here.
My boy Buck Roger, Twisted Sin. Oh my days, you're all here. I'm getting emotional. I'm so excited about tonight, fam. We've got just such a lit panel, such an awesome topic of discussion, such an awesome guest. We've got Zubitech for the fourth time. But I mean, he can come whenever he likes. We love to have him. I'm one of his biggest fans, so I'm buzzing that he's here with us. So let's get and we also have HD Gamer for the second appearance on the show. A fellow Aussie brother of Faulkner. He's from Australia, so he's up really early. It's 6 a.m. where he is, I believe. Is that right, HD?
No, it's more like 8 a.m.
8 a.m. Okay, well that's a relief. I'm glad it's 8 a.m. and not 6 for you. But he's here for the second time, and bringing all his knowledge and articulation and all that good stuff to the show as well, which will be definitely all the better for it. So just wanted to give all you guys in the chat a shout out, and let's introduce the incredible panel. Let's start off with the guests first. My boy HD Gamer, what's good, bro?
Oh, mate. Yeah, I'm actually still on recovering from a case of COVID. So, but I mean, nothing was going to stop me joining the panel tonight. I mean, I nearly fell off my chair when I read the news, and I just I had to come on and.
You and me both. Bro, it didn't ruin my honeymoon. It certainly impacted my honeymoon. I was like, holy shit. When I heard, I just went, what? And my beautiful wife, Jodie, she was like in the bathroom, and she was like, what's going on? And she was running a bath, and I was going, what? And she was like, what? I was like, what? And she was like, no, Jay, tell me, what's the matter? I was like, you won't believe what's just happened. And she was like, what's happened? I was like, Microsoft have just acquired Activision Blizzard. And she was like, what does that mean? I was like, I can't actually, you know what, sweetheart? I just need to put out a 2-minute video telling people that I cannot handle this right now. I'm on my honeymoon, and I'll deal with it later. And I will explain to you tomorrow, because right now it's just completely baffled my head.
I just imagine that one image from Always Sunny in Philadelphia where like Charlie Day goes crazy, you know that meme?
I was just gonna say, mate. I mean, I had the same with my partner. She was like, "What's?" And I'm like, you know, the Microsoft just bought Activision, like, you know, and she's like, "What's that?" And I came up with so many analogies throughout the day, saying this would be like this happening. This would be like, you know, Samsung saying Netflix is exclusive to their televisions, and we have to replace our TVs. Like, it's like this car. Like, I was just going through all the analogies, trying to explain how impactful this is, and I think I still failed. But anyway, apart from that, yeah, I've been playing a few games. Managed to get my brother a PS5 over Christmas, which wasn't an easy task, and I've jumped into Demon Souls again with him, and just going through that together. It's been quite a different experience. Jumped into Ratchet, platinum that, and I'm jumping back into Tales of Arise again now, so I'm enjoying that.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Yeah, Demon Souls, man, it's one of them games you can go back to and appreciate even more. The more you dive into it, the more it takes your breath away. It was the first game I booted up on my OLED, and I couldn't believe my eyes, what I was seeing. let's go to my good friend Zubitek. An absolute honor, as always, to have you here, my brother. Congratulations on the huge numbers that you're hitting right now on Twitter, and the new follows. You're pretty much followed by the entire industry now on Twitter. They view you as essential info, and I tell you what, man, they're all the better for it. So thank you for being here. It's definitely a blessing for this show and for the panel. How you doing, my guy?
Yeah, all good, Willie. Thanks for the intro again. As always, hope the whole panel's doing good as well.
Well, I'm good, bro. We'll find out.
I'll keep it. Yeah, I'll keep it short because the topics are just too big.
Facts. I love it. Good on you, man. Let's get my go to my good friend, fellow panel member OT. How you doing, bro?
Hey, I'm good. For me, it's been work has been crazy, but me and Retro got into Twitter beef, and Social ended up starting a Gran Turismo league. So
I've heard about this. I want to give this a big shout out. A shout out, actually. You've got a league set up, and it's getting quite a lot of traction.
Hey, yeah. Social did some good work setting it up, and it's just fun. But hey, guys are like guys. Of course, I don't know the guys who I'm playing against, but when you play them, you realize these guys are damn serious. So everybody there is a beast, but it's a lot of fun and trash talk. It's just gaming, so it's a lot of fun. We're waiting for GT7, then we'll really get into it big time.
It's every Saturday, I believe, at around 1 p.m. East. Okay.
Yeah, so anybody can join. Just send Social a friend request and it puts you in.
Hit up Social Destruct. I don't know if he's here right now in the chat, but he is a regular viewer of the show. Or hit up OT himself for the details, guys. But this is looking pretty shit hot. And when GT7 comes out, it's going to be even more amazing with a pretty nice a reward as well for whoever wins this tournament.
And Willie's sponsoring one of them.
Yeah, facts. So that's awesome. And yeah, best of luck with that, my dude. I'm looking forward to seeing this tournament, how it goes on. So congratulations again on your beautiful little girl, Akira. I'm stoked and over the moon for you. It made me emotional. Same with OT when his baby girl was born. What you've named her after your wife named her after her favorite game character, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Silene, my wife's favorite game is Chrono Cross, and she loves this character named Lynx. Basically, what she did is she jumbled the letters and made the name feminine, because if my baby would have been a boy, he would have been named Lynx. That's why she did that. Yeah.
Awesome. Oh, mate, honestly, like, she's so beautiful. I'm so happy for you. She truly is special. How have you been doing, man? How are you?
I'm doing great. It's really great. I made a joke to my wife, right? Because I took the picture with a DualSense, right? And a lot of some Xbox fans
I've got the picture
got
here.
mad. Some Xbox fans got mad because I shouldn't force it. Blah,
This was beautiful. You're not forcing anything on her. You literally it's a prop.
Basically when I when I told my wife that, I said, hey, look, they're getting mad and shit, and I said, and I made a joke like, you know what, when Silene grows up, I'm gonna tell her PlayStation's greatness and Xbox trash, so she shouldn't touch it or look at it or even pay attention to it. I just made that joke because my wife was laughing at the comments of people getting mad that I'm forcing her to be a PlayStation fan. It's like it's my child. I'm a PlayStation fan. She's going to be a PlayStation fan. Accept it. That's what's going to happen here. Like, look at OT. Like, his baby's already watching Horizon Forbidden West. I mean, you know what I mean?
Mate,
Greatness starting early.
when I have a child, I'll make sure my child's a gamer. Don't you worry. Yeah. So
I made that joke. She was really laughing. So I'm gonna tell Silene, like, this is greatness.
OT
Xbox
gave
trash.
his little girl a nickname, a gamer's nickname, Wolf, from Metal Gear Solid.
Oh,
Yeah,
Sniper
I
Wolf.
gave her Sniper Wolf.
I love it.
Yeah, Sniper
Yeah.
Wolf.
So nothing wrong in that, bro. And
again, man,
celebrating the best news of your life, the best one of the proudest moments of your life with the gaming community in that way. There's nothing wrong at all.
They're just making me again. I mean, my wife agreed with me, right? My wife agreed.
100%.
So we could tell her, we could tell Silent Xbox is trash when she grows up. What's gonna happen? And they can all get mad about it. She's gonna be a PlayStation.
I love that, Axel. Axel in the chat. This is literally the most diverse panel ever. But Andrea told us Woolly Gamer is racist. I love it, Axel. Thank you for that, man. That means a lot. The panel is lit tonight. We've speaking of lit. Let's get on to my good brother DZ. I just want to shout out, sorry if I'm rushing through these intros, we've got so much to discuss, and we've got a panel with some of which have very limited time, so trying to get to the juicy bits as quick as possible. But congratulations again, Akira. Sorry, you were going to say something just then before I
was still going to say, Ronaldo said, gotta race him right. Yeah. Need to race him right.
Big facts.
Xbox trash, PS is greatness. That's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna put that, like, I'm gonna frame that shit. I'm gonna let her see it. No, I'm just kidding.
My boy DZ, thank you once again. I owe DZ the biggest thank you in the world for coming to my wedding, being one of my ushers, and what an amazing usher he was. Getting to know him in person, off the mic, and meeting up with him and spending quality time with him has just been such a blessing, and I couldn't be more proud to have you as one of my friends, DZ brother. So thank you very much for sharing my very special day with me and Jodie. Jodie adores you way too much. I'm kind of uncomfortable with how much she loves you, to be honest. But on a serious note, it means a lot. How are you doing, my dude?
Thanks, everyone.
Oh, I'm good, guys. I'm good. Welcome to the panel, everyone, and to Willie. I just want to say shout out to Willie, shout out to Jody. Like, we haven't said it enough, and I haven't said it enough. Last weekend was magical for a whole lot of reasons, and it was just a pleasure and an honor to finally meet up with a friend that I have admired for a long time and didn't think that I was actually going to be friends with him. But here we are, a year later into this thing, and we are really, really good friends. And I can't thank you enough for having me a part of your special day, man. So,
Easy.
Yeah, what's up?
Easy.
What's up?
You need to read that. Axel said, "How did Wooly manage to snag a Forbidden West cast member?"
Oh my goodness, we gotta get this up. Guys,
No, I'm serious, man. Like when I first saw the trailer, I really thought of DZ when I saw Varl with the beard.
This is
just really looked like it.
We're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into that little fandom in a second, but let's get the pleasantries out the way, because for real, this show is going to be a doozy of a show, and I honestly am thankful that I'm here tonight with this panel. It is also my first time being on sharing the mic with HD Gamer. So, bro, I've admired you and your content I'd admired you and your input across the gaming industry for quite some time. So it really is an honor to share this panel with you tonight. So, I love shouts out to that.
Big facts. Yeah. Honestly, HD, that's a testament to you, brother. Don't put yourself down, because you bring. There's a reason why you're classed as a friend of the show. In terms of you're within the show's group chat. You're a very valued member of the community and of this panel, and we appreciate you greatly. And DZ just hit the nail on the head when he said that. you bring a lot to the table. So yeah.
Thanks, guys. Really, really happy to be here, and thanks for those kind words.
And then of course, it's always lovely to see Zuby back in the chat with us on the mic, getting everybody informed. So like, man, it's a pleasure to be here with you as well. And as always,
Likewise.
OT, it is always a pleasure, bro, to like sit and chop it up with you. So like, you know,
I'm feeling the love so much tonight.
Thanks, man.
Can you feel the
Same
love
here,
tonight,
man.
guys?
Same
Check these pictures out of our boy DZ in Horizon Forbidden West, and I had the pleasure of taking a picture with him. This sexy black and white photo right here in the lift when my boy came with me to my wedding, came over for the weekend to experience the wedding with us. But yeah, I mean, look, he's identical.
Yeah, that's tripping.
Yeah, but on a serious note, dude, I love that we can joke about that, and the whole, I know, culture, like, just because you both people of color means that you look, you know, the people go on these rants and try to find issues where there isn't one. But you know, you look like a really good looking dude in Horizon Forbidden West. Take the compliment. God damn it.
Let me just jump right over and put Wilhelm on the spot.
Oh shit!
Pleasure to be here with you, mate. Pleasure to be here with you. And
Likewise,
I relinquish my mic time. I relinquish my time, so it's up to you now, bro.
Facts. Wilhelmovsky, arguably the most understated member on the panel, but by no means a less talented. This guy, I snatched him up the moment he started speaking. After his first episode, I was like, guys, we need Wilhelm on the panel. He brings so much culture to the show because of his knowledge and love of gaming and retro gaming in particular. He's like a mini John Linneman with Herman Hulst's accent. It's like, what more could you ask for? So, Wilhelm, how are you doing, my guy?
I'm doing fantastic. Like for one, congrats to your wedding, bro. Like, absolute congrats.
Thanks so much, my dude.
Just also thank you. Like, I feel incredibly privileged to be like a part of this. Like, it's honestly like incredible, like to be able to be in like this band of people who have like the same kind of passion, commitment, and love for the medium as you do, and to be able to speak with like people who also like have knowledges in different fields. You know, like Folkman is like an NFT crypto guy who knows his finances and stuff. Also DZ, who's a game developer himself and all. Like it's honestly
Wilhelm,
beyond comprehension.
Let me tell you, bro. I never anticipated my initial vision of what I wanted this podcast to be. I want it to land as perfectly in with that vision as I could have ever asked for. Like, you've just hit the nail on the head. We've got the perfect panel, the most diverse panel of different experiences and talents and skills that are essential for good discussion of gaming. I am the least qualified person here, and the least skilled and least knowledgeable. All I do, though, what I have done and what I will take credit for, is I've reached out to you guys and brought you all together, and that I will 100% take credit for that, but I will never take credit for the discussion that's on this show, because it's all thanks to you guys, and it's your knowledge and talent that has made this show. We're exploding. We're now at 650 subscribers, nearly. It's like we were at 627 when DZ visited me in Manchester just before my wedding. So, I mean, it's getting big. It's picking up more and more and more. More and people are seeing you guys, are recognizing the talent where they see it, and they're appreciating the non-biased objectivity and speculation when it is on the show. It's all kind of based on rational logic and nuance and thinking, and it's kind of in line with what we know and the facts that we've got on the table. So that's a credit to you guys. Let's move to the main topics now that we've got intros out the way, and let's dissect this bad boy. Activision Blizzard acquired by Xbox, by Microsoft. Huge deal. the biggest deal ever in gaming history. But let's get to the bottom of things. So this deal was 68.7 billion, right? This acquisition has cost. But why? Why were they bought in the first place? Let's discuss all of this, because Activision are right now dealing with a lawsuit. Zuby has a good summary of this situation, and I know he wants to kind of dissect the financial aspect of this, which is perfect because Faulkner isn't here, as well. So he's certainly I don't know how to say it, like the person to go to, as well as Faulkner for numbers and figures. Sorry, my for some reason my whole thing just shut down. No, we're still good. We're live.
Okay.
So Zuby, let's break this down, bro. The mic is yours. What's going on?
So, just to put into perspective, like I follow the industry, like not just gaming as well, like the tech industry. So just to put in this deal into perspective, like is the second biggest tech acquisition of all time. So to just put that in perspective,
what was
like
the
all the
biggest?
company, it was Warner Media. They bought AT&T bought Warner for over 100 billion, and that was years ago. So yeah, and this is Microsoft's biggest acquisition of all time. So it's just like everywhere you look at it, it's so big. Like the 68 billion number. Like imagine that amount of money in front of you. Like you wouldn't even be able to put it in a room or something. So it's just like a massive deal of like the acquisition in itself. So I don't think you can like look at this one point of view, like from like a gamer. You can have like, I think there's so many different sides to it. Like it's not just like this is the view and this is why it's happening or why it happened. So it's just so big, like the acquisition. So yeah, so like in terms of Microsoft, like the market cap for Activision was around 50 billion before they bought them, and Microsoft paid almost 70 billion. So that's like 20 billion extra they paid that they were not worth at the time. So you can see like that's something Microsoft agreed to buy Activision. We know that Bobby was looking for someone to acquire Activision, so he went to Facebook first. I don't know what happened there. So that's something that's so big. Well, like why was he shopping around? So I think that's what we can get into as well. Again, like to pay like 20 billion above your market cap is kind of unusual. Like that doesn't happen really a lot. Especially like when you're in billions.
Yeah, so they had dropped massively in their value, right? Activision, because of Bobby Kotick. Unless you've been living under a rock, you all know the deal with this guy. He's bad news. He's bad news for in general. Really bad news. He's been accused of substantiated accusations, threatening a woman's life. I believe a woman took. Reconnection successful. Okay, sorry guys, I'm experiencing some issues right now. I need to get this fixed. OBS is disconnecting on me, but I'm back. Really sorry about that. We're okay. We're still live. Yeah, we're still live. Sorry. But Bobby Kotick is bad news, and after all of these allegations surfaced of what he's been doing, and how he's been treating people and the environment at the workplace at Activision, shares dropped exponentially, right? Was it around 20 billion?
Yeah, it was 20 billion. So the market cap was around 50 billion before the acquisition, and obviously it went up while the announcement was happening, and then there was in a point in time where last year about this time it was around 80, but it dropped around to 70, and then when the allegations hit, it was just going down and down and down, and Obviously, like personally to me, that's why he sold, because the board was losing billions of dollars. Like, and the lawsuit, that's the biggest reason, in my opinion, why Activision was sold. So it's kind of like there's so many angles to it, like the selling, the lawsuit. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. I wanted to hit HD Gamer. You touched on something that this is. If you combine 25, you want to you know what I'm talking about, right? You mentioned this.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you wanna?
So just to add to, like, I did check that what Zuby said. Yeah, it's the second biggest tech acquisition. And I just had a quick look at the other acquisitions in gaming, and I mean, look, it looks like I haven't added them all up, but I think it's definitely bigger than the next 25. And after a while, they start dropping into the 50 or $40 million range. So
Even
this could be bigger than every previous acquisition in gaming combined.
That's just crazy. What I just want to ask the panel quickly. What were your thoughts? Initial thoughts. Sev, you, DZ, you sent me a voice message which kind of put into perspective just why this is a really big deal. And I don't know if you wanna kind of expound on that. The initial face value kind of face value. That's not the word. The initial kind of things that went through your head as to why this is no joke.
Knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah.
Well, it's I never necessarily had a knee-jerk reaction to it, because I was on a date with my partner. We had just finished having breakfast from a place that a friend of mine had suggested. And literally on our way back from that date, I was in the middle of a conversation with my husband, and then I got the text message. I didn't even know that it happened, to be quite honest. What ended up happening was my friend, who is not even a part of the gaming industry, has nothing to do with the gaming industry, just saw something, snapped the photo of it, and then sent it to me. And he said, "I am dying to understand what is going through your head reading this." And I literally just said, "Mate, I don't even know what the fuck you're talking about." And then he said this. And when I saw it, I nearly fucking dropped my phone while I was walking. Like my husband would tell you, like like I said Microsoft bought a massive gaming company, and he said, "Yeah, okay." And then I said, "For $70 billion. And he said, "What?" in his Scottish accent. And so immediately what my mind went to was the sheer not necessarily panic, but what my mind immediately ran to and has consistently stayed focused on is the massive consolidation that is happening. And the reason why I say consolidation is because that's exactly what is happening right now. And it all goes back to Microsoft's approach to amassing content. Content wars has been the thing for game companies, for everybody in this industry who owns a platform or who is a publisher. You want content to satiate your audience, to satiate your ecosystem, whatever that may be. You need a collection of strong IPs. You need a collection of developers to satiate this desire, because more games are becoming far more immersive, and far more people are accessing them now than they have been in the past, and you need content to compete. The problem, though, that I have with this bullish thing of being a bully and throwing your money around because you have it, is the fact that rather than take the money that you have and establish studios, establish IPs, create those things, which you can
100%.
do. You can do those things when you're a $1 trillion company, $2 trillion valued company like Microsoft is, with near limitless resources, funds. It is not difficult. It is really not that difficult to start placing your feet in the sand or your lines in the sand and placing down points where you stake your claim and start building and establishing your brand organically. They have the money for that, right? People will tell you that, well, okay, it takes years to cultivate and bring stuff in, but Microsoft could fund from every one of his Microsoft Xbox by extension could literally fund 20 plus brand new IPs from each of their 16 each of their 21 studios that they have right now.
20 IPs from each of the 21 for the same money.
Sorry, go ahead.
TJ. Yeah, they could do that right now. Like, they could fund that with Bethesda. They could they have 23 with Bethesda. Sorry, they could fund that 20 times over, and still have money to go ahead and establish brand new studios, and go on a massive hiring spree and pull in more talent, pull in more things, or even go to colleges, recruit people out of college. Because that's the best way to get more things into the industry, is to take from the college. There's so many people that want to get in the industry but don't know how. And you literally could establish a very small studio straight out of college, picking from the very best and not so very best, but like also at the top of their class, and bring these people into the industry and just tell them, we have all this money, go experiment. We'll back you and we'll do this. Those are things that Microsoft could have done, right? They could fill a void of independent developers coming out, wanting a way to get into this industry and make their mark, but don't have the financial backing to have that risk. They could do that too, like PlayStation has been doing over this last year with Haven, with Deviation Games, with Firewalk. These are all studios that are newly established that don't have the financial backing but have tons of innovation and tons of ideas. And Sony isn't trying to acquire these studios. They're setting up a relationship. They're greenlighting IPs based on the promise that these things will deliver or not deliver, but there's a massive risk that they're taking. And they're giving them, and they're opening the doors. You would expect that kind of risk taking with Microsoft because they have near unlimited funds and they could eat all this stuff up. But no, they haven't. I made a post over the 8 or so years ago when they started doing this acquisition conquest. They started about maybe how many years now? Over the course of 8 years, they've established Game Pass and they've pushed that, and they've tried to sweeten the deal by making these deals with third-party developers, and then they started putting first-party stuff on there and realizing that the first-party content isn't that strong. So what have they started to do? They've gone out and they've bought smart independent developers that are out there, and people that they've established a brand with. So like, the Forza Horizon team, that's a very smart purchase because they've been working with Microsoft for almost 10 years. So that just made sense. Those are smart purchases. Double Fine, those kind of things. They had a relationship with them, and Psychonauts was on Xbox originally and all. So like, there's history with those things. So those kind of purchases make sense. What I don't understand is going out and buying Bethesda, because while they might be close partners with Bethesda, with Bethesda Softworks, it's only Bethesda Softworks that they were close partnered with. They weren't close partners with Tango. They weren't close partners with Machine Games. They weren't close partners with John Carmack with ID or with id Software. So like this thing that they're doing is literally going up and dumping over the course of 8 years since this new push of making sure that Xbox can be on a number of platforms with Game Pass and the Game Pass experience. They've dumped over $100 million total in acquisitions. And
billion.
No, yeah, 100 billion. Yeah, 100 billion in acquisitions. Yeah, in acquisitions only, right? And the bulk of that now has skyrocketed up to that point because they went and now bullied, they've went now and basically they've taken off another third-party publisher, a whole fucking publisher, and not just a whole fucking publisher, the number one third-party publisher in the world.
Go on, Zuby.
That has been supplying content freely in this market to numerous of ecosystems. We're talking Nintendo, we're talking PC, we're talking the mobile market, we're talking PlayStation, and then of course Xbox, and at some point too Sega, when Sega was a thing. So like Activision has been there, and Activision has been dogmatic. They've never had a preference. They've only made deals with people who had the money. So like this whole thing, that was my focus, was just like, oh, you're using your superpower, but you're going to be an asshole about the whole fucking thing.
See, I've got quite a little, not a lot, but I've got something to say specifically on that. But I want to first, before I do, Zuby, you were about to say something, and want you to say what you got to say, and anyone else who wants to speak, and then I want to ask the question and break down why did this acquisition take place. So Zuby, you go for it first, man. What was it you wanted to say?
No, he's just, I'm sorry, but what he just said is just like perfection, like
facts.
bro, like it's exactly what he said. Like another the biggest one is wiped off. Is wiped off, and you can't just look at it. I'm a PlayStation fan or I'm an Xbox fan, or you have to look at the industry. You want the industry to go. Like Microsoft's gonna put you in a tunnel and put you in a service, and that's what they're gonna make Activision. Like you got to realize that. That's all I was gonna say.
I told I said this in the group chat, right? So I'm gonna repeat it here. What I said about Microsoft. I said Microsoft is that rich kid in school who does not have the skills to play the game. So what he did is he used his money to own the ball so that those other players who can play the game well cannot play the game anymore. Because they bulldoze it with money. And that's kind of like how I saw it when I saw the Activision deal. I was like, all right, sure. My first reaction, of course, is competition, right? But then I tried to process it, and then it started to sink in where it's not even competition. It's just bulldozing everything with money.
Yeah,
it's kind of like how I saw it.
I want to
right?
quickly. Sorry, carry on, Akira. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
This is the thing, man. Like I was already delighted with their previous moves, right? They got about 22 studios. They got really talented people there that they can fund games and go head to head with Sony, with making games, right? Making great games. They could go head to head. That's proper, a hot competition that would actually bring the industry forward, right? But then, they did this and but my reaction was, you know what, I had faith before because I'm gonna tell you guys, the more I study about Xbox history because I never knew them before properly.
Mm-hmm.
But the more I study them, the more I get the impression that they're not really like Sony or Nintendo, because Sony or Nintendo are creatives. I don't think Microsoft understands what it is like to be creative or have creatives actually bring the industry forward with creativity after the original Xbox. Because I think the original Xbox, then the Xbox 360, was like the era of Microsoft where they were still trying to fight creativity with creativity, right? But after that, it was kind of like an end of an era because Microsoft started to become more corporate than Sony and Nintendo. Like they were way more corporate. Like before, they were this underground gaming underdog vibe that I saw from that documentary, the Power On. Then after all that Xbox One, then moving forward, they became so corporate that the Activision acquisition almost does not surprise me anymore now that I look back into it, because it's just kind of like what they know what to do nowadays. They just are on the corporate route. It's not about creativity and competition anymore. It's just all about it's just all about the service and and profit. Again,
I'm really sorry, guys, for the connection issues here. There's something going on with OBS where, without fail, every 90 seconds or so, the signal dips to like 2,000 kilobytes per second streaming capacity bandwidth, and then goes straight back up to green after 5 or 6 seconds of being in the red. I don't know why it does it. I need to figure it out. Maybe my bit rate is too high. I'll fix.
Sorry, Wooly. My last point on this before I let somebody else talk is that this is the thing, right? I did not know what the word consolidation means until I had someone explain it to me. And then I started to understand it, right? And yeah, I can understand it. It's very bad. Now, my way of seeing it is that there's already a content war at the start of this generation, but Microsoft escalated it to the point that it might force some hands to move as well, worsening the state of consolidation that we are in already in the gaming industry.
Yeah, that's a really good point, bro.
For my final point is that this is the thing. My knee-jerk reaction when I saw Activision is, what did Sony do for them to do this? And I watched
Good question.
I watched Maximilian Dudd's video, and he said the same thing. What did Sony do that made them do this? Because normally competitors react based on what their competitors do in businesses. That's kind of like why that was my first question, my first reaction. What did Sony do so big that made them react like this? That was my last point. That was my last question that I still cannot answer.
Go on, OT.
Can I
quickly to make a point? What Akira said, like he's right, because like Facebook, what they're doing is Quest. Like literally, that's not in the console space or service based. Like it's not touching anything. Google Stadia is dead. Who else is there? Amazon's got launched Luna, but that's nothing's happening there. So it just shows you, what did Sony do? So because they must have seen, because they know what Sony's doing. They have their industry sources. So yeah, go on, OT.
For me, I think that whatever makes PlayStation has still remained. Call of Duty does not make PlayStation. Whatever makes Nintendo still remains. Call of Duty does not make Nintendo. What I feel is some people are overreacting to a situation where they may end up finding out 3 or 4 years down the line that Call of Duty actually needed PlayStation more than PlayStation needed Call of Duty. But I have some points that I wanted to speak on. I believe Microsoft didn't do this so much because of what Sony did or what Sony is doing. But if you look at their financial records, which they have hidden from us for a long time, I just wrote a few points. Let me just go through them. It's the whole thing is why I believe they had no choice but to start buying publishers as a solution to increase engagement. Xbox doesn't report profits. They only report revenue. That is very deceptive because Daniel Ahmad said, we don't know, Xbox might be already in the negative. They are very clever and shifting their numbers. Number two, if you look at their software, there is a reduced or lower than expected revenue from its pillar titles. Everybody says Halo, Gears, and Forza. But if you look at them, Forza, before this new Forza came out, Forza in total had sold 16 million copies over 3 generations. Days Gone sold 8 million. Literally half of the Forza franchise was imagine a new Sony IP sold half of the Forza franchise. That's telling you that Sony's new IPs are creating financial benefits, but Microsoft is seeing big titles like Forza bringing in less than expected revenue. Gears franchise, which has passed, I think, just past 30 million copies sold. With that, imagine the last God of War sold 20 million. It was 2/3 the entire Gears of War franchise. Halo numbers have shrunk. Even on PC, it is Microsoft put Halo on PC hoping for stardom. It is people play more PUBG. Literally, that thing is not even in the charts. So when you're seeing the kind of engagement and yet the kind of money they've pumped in, Microsoft realized that, look, our new IPs are not creating anything new, anything big. Grounded didn't do 20 million copies. You know, Sony comes in with Horizon and gets 20 million copies. When's the last time Microsoft had a new IP get even to 10 million copies? The best they could do is get 10 million people to play on Game Pass. So they are so lacking in terms of sales. They now decided, you know what, in order for us to really get the engagement, let's go to people who are guaranteed to have engagement. Let's start buying publishers. That, I think, is the solution they have chosen. But it is also a confession. It is a confession that their IPs have failed. Their existing IPs have failed to carry the financial expectations they were meant to meet. It is a confession that their new IPs have also failed to create interest. And this is where now Phil Spencer is telling us, oh, I bought these guys because Google might have bought them. Facebook might have bought them. But you know, the truth is, where is Xbox getting the money to buy these studios or publishers? It's not getting them from the Xbox division. It's getting them from Microsoft. Now that tells me already that the Xbox division is not yet profitable enough to do what it is doing. And if this thing had been left by itself, the Xbox division would have already been shut down. These are the truths that people don't want to accept. But everybody's saying, hey, Phil is a genius businessman. Anybody who has a rich father can buy rich things. But the truth is, can you earn that? Jim Ryan is buying studios based on PlayStation's profits. PlayStation doesn't run to Sony and say, hey, I need to buy this. They buy it from within. So I think this has just shown us how bad Xbox's situation was.
That's a really good point.
Fact that it's the truth, because these guys will never give you the numbers. So right now, let Destin and all these guys celebrate. But I guarantee you, within the next 2 to 3 years, we will see the vacuum will be filled. Sony is not going to rely on Call of Duty.
I do want to break this down into 2 segments: the business aspect and the players aspect. So what benefit is this to gamers? We'll get into that shortly. But the first thing, I know Wilhelm had something he wanted to say as well. Go on, brother.
I actually wanted to let OT finish because it didn't seem like he was actually.
I'm sorry, OT.
Oh, no. That was it. I was just saying, more or less, at the end of the day, this acquisition is a confession of their existing and new IPs not working. Because if those IPs were working, then they would say it is more beneficial for me to invest 70 billion on new IPs because it's paying off. But Microsoft has said, hey, you guys have given Phil Spencer enough years. This thing is not working. I'm coming in, I'm going to buy publishers. That's the only way.
OT, you're spitting facts, man. I mean, wow. I'd not thought of that before. I have a similar point, but it's definitely not that point. And I've not actually thought of that perspective. And you're absolutely right. It has revealed that they're almost desperate for idle income because Game Pass and these games, the sales just aren't cutting it. That's a fantastic. Yeah, wow. That's awesome. Go on. Sorry, Wilhelm.
Now, the way I see it, like first when I saw the news that Microsoft, like Xbox, acquired Activision, I actually wasn't surprised at all. Like it was just something that I expected. You know, there's a term that it's called antitrust, and if you don't know what antitrust means, the definition antitrust basically means preventing or controlling trusts or other monopolies, and so promoting fair competition in business. So the way I see it, you know, you have to look at it like that. What's the difference between those big three companies in the gaming field right now? We have Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft. The difference is Nintendo basically their entire company is based on games. You know, they make consoles, they make games. How it's how they're built, that's how they made their wealth, and that's basically the whole thing. And Sony basically makes most of their profits with their consoles, with the PlayStation brand. While Microsoft, on the other hand, doesn't rely on that whatsoever. Like, you know, they have like one of the not one of the most biggest. It's literally the biggest operating system there is with Windows. They basically work on a completely different frame. They work on a way bigger frame than Sony or Nintendo. So their Xbox, you know, their Xbox brand is something that they're not dependent on like Sony or Nintendo. It's like basically a thing they do like on the side, you know, just for fun, if you will. So
Yeah, 100%.
when you make that kind of money, you know, Microsoft, one of the biggest companies out there. When you make that kind of money, why not? Why even make the effort uh, to compete when you can basically buy out the competition? It's what they basically have been doing since the 90s.
Yep.
You know, they've been even taken to court in the 90s for it as well, and it's what they're currently practicing right now. They buy out all the competition, all the studios, everything that they can get their hands on, everything they could suspect could give them a benefit, and everything they suspect could give the other companies a benefit. So they just keep them for themselves, so the other ones don't benefit.
Yeah, no, 100%. Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out what clapped means. Viceroy in the chat, shout out to you, sir. This is my second time checking out this podcast and the quality is always clapped. If you mean the streaming quality, brother, I'm working on it. I do apologise. I've invested in the highest bandwidth internet I can afford, but I think I've got a setting wrong on OBS and I'm trying to figure out what it is. So I do apologise if the quality isn't up to snuff. Will
improve. Could the chat hear me? Because like I saw someone saying that they can't hear me.
Can
you guys hear me? Hello?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
Hello?
they can hear Wilhelm. I can hear you loud and clear. Can you guys hear Wilhelm in the chat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I could hear him.
Yeah.
That's all good. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I've checked the settings and I think I know what the problem is, but I can't rectify it whilst we're streaming live. Unfortunately, it won't let me. But in the output, I've got the video scaler based at 36 samples, not 16. So I think what that's doing is that's botting the stream every now and again. So I will fix that for the next, and I'll test it as well and make sure that this thing rectifies itself. But do apologise, guys. Really sorry for this. Hopefully it's mostly stable. And it's just gone to red again. It's gone to red again for a few more for 5 or 10 seconds, and then it'll be back up into the green. It's really frustrating, and I'm really sorry. My apologies.
That's fine.
No, you're spot on, Wilhelm, brother. I do want to share a point that I came to. It's very similar to it's kind of touching on what DZ said and what OT was saying just prior about them. I think Microsoft have brought greater risk and potential harm to themselves through this acquisition than it's worth to them. And why I say this is because they're one of the, like you said, Wilhelm, one of the richest companies on the planet. They're a multi-trillion-dollar company, and now all eyes are on them. All eyes are on them to see what they're going. All eyes are on them, but not in a good way. What they've just done is, in a way, a threat to in indie developers. I mean, look at this article. I have an article here. Sorry, not an article. I have a quote here from an indie developer. I'll show you guys it. This indie developer, this article says, what's concerning is what developers might have to do to make their independent titles more appealing to the companies that are increasingly fewer and farther between. If we have to adjust what we're doing to meet those platforms in order to survive, I feel like at that point we're all better off just getting jobs at those companies, says Brandon Sheffield, director at independent studio Necrosoft. And he goes on to basically explain how he feels threatened by if everything's just consolidated, it leaves very little, basically very little for indie developers to bargain with, to very little power, really, to get their game, to make their game profitable for them. But absolutely. So with that in mind, what Microsoft has done, especially with Bobby Kotick's kind of current status in the industry and his current people's view of him and what he's done, for Microsoft to come in there like a knight in shining armor and bail Bobby out of his situation, his stock's dropping. Not only that, but they've pretty much become his lawyer now, because Microsoft will be dealing with the court trial involving Bobby, and because he's under them now.
I just want to say.
Yet.
I just want to say one thing about that.
He's not under them just yet.
Okay.
Because not until, like I said, a lot of people have this misconception that an announcement of acquisition means that they are apart. Acquisitions take time to go through.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Books, financials, legal documents, legal trade agreements, and everything like that take time to work through, and it's normally a 6 months to a year, sometimes even longer, because regulations because governments and their world, every established country, major country has a business antitrust in form of communication technology and everything else that oversees, and they may see things that trouble them, and they may want more. They may want more certificate. They may want to review other books, financial documents, and other legal things about the company before they make a decision. So Activision, like I said before, it is business as usual on the surface for these companies. Activision is not a part of Microsoft yet. There's an intent to acquire. That process has started. It's been submitted to the United States FTC, Federal Trade Commission, and it's been submitted to the United Kingdom's version of that, and Australia's version of that, and Eastern Asia and the rest of Europe's version of that. They all have to pass those reviews for these things to go through. So like, it's business as usual.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're not a part of them just yet. Right now, it's just an announcement of an intent to acquire, and that process is going through right now.
I just wanted to say something, right? I'm sorry, man, but Bobby does not deserve any $1 million. He deserves jail time.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
big
Like,
facts, and this is why.
I somebody explained to me that they might get questioned for the $20 billion Sony stocks that was lost, because normally, from what I understood, is acquisition should not directly affect your competitor in a massive way, which basically happened after the acquisition.
Yeah,
Or
I believe
intent
Prince
to
was
acquire.
talking about that on Twitter. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with U.S. law, so I'm sorry. This was explained to me that apparently there are questions being asked for this intent to acquire, and one of them is about not
To be honest,
directly.
that doesn't fill me with much hope, because I'm not saying this is going to happen, but I'm saying Bobby has high friends in high places, and money speaks, and I'm pretty sure this acquisition will be allowed to go through. However, especially when you partner Bobby's friends in high places along with Microsoft's friends in high places, it's a pretty potent firewall for any kind of morality to be considered. But what I do want to touch on is this point here. I mean, the court case aside, Microsoft have kind of put a bit of a target on their backs. They've dealt their cards out. They've shown we've all known what they're capable of, but now what they've done is they've shown what their intentions are. They want this consolidation. They want these cash cows, these big, massive cash cows that are racking the money for them, regardless of who of the ramifications on the industry. So what does this mean? Well, they've pretty much done all of this and risked their reputation as a game, Xbox's reputation and goodwill among developers and the industry for idle income that they don't even need. Because what's 10 billion a year, right? Which was what approximately Activision was making in their peak, right? Around 10 billion a year. What's 10 billion a year to a multi-trillion-dollar company? So it's idle income they don't really even need. And meanwhile, Sony now have the advantage of both time and talent. Whilst Microsoft spend years seeing this purchase through, honouring their contractual agreements, which we're going to touch on, they do have towards Sony. There's articles which I have at the ready to show that they have contractual agreements with Sony, and Sony expects Call of Duty to remain on PlayStation as a result. And as well as that, as well as the fact that it's logical, why would they want to take away 40% of the sales that rack in a huge amount of income when the whole when that's no doubt their reason for buying this cash cow in the first place is for idle income. On top of all of this, right? On top of all of this, they've got to see these contractual agreements, honour them, see this purchase through. And whilst they decide what old IPs to bring back that belong to Activision, that are under the Activision umbrella, I mean, Phil has mentioned Hexen and things like that, they've got to juggle that alongside milking the dominant cash cows currently active and very much present with dominant mindshare, i.e. the Candy Crush, the Call of Duty, all that shit. Sony are there, seeing all of this happen before their eyes with years of advance notice. I mean, before any of this stuff is finalized or materialized or anything comes about, they've got full speed advance notice, working towards kind of an even better year in 2023. I have no doubt that 2023 and 2024 is going to be even better than 2022 for Sony. And we already know they're aggressively pursuing partnerships in response to Microsoft. Not for cash cows, but rather for AAA games. They're speaking to, what is it, Zubi? Some 20 developers at the moment they're in talks with. I
can't say who.
Yeah, you can't say who. I understand.
They're talking to a lot of people. Sony knew this was gonna happen. Like, Sony has insiders as well. They know this industry. Like, people don't put no respect on PlayStation's name. They've been doing this for like almost 30 years. Like, they know how
stupid.
to do this. Yeah, Yeah.
So
Just alright, go ahead.
I'll finish this last point. So, in response to Microsoft, Sony may be even more aggressive in pursuing partnerships, not necessarily acquisitions, although they could. They still 18 billion can do a lot with a lot of developers. Far more than 70 billion would with just Activision. I mean, this Activision for the money that they've paid. The payoff for players is very small compared to the payoff for the company. It benefits them from a company level far more than you and me as gamers, right? So Sony will be very aggressive, no doubt, in response to all this because they've decided to do this. Microsoft have done this, and maybe just maybe by 2025 you'll see an exclusive Activision IP for Xbox, maybe. Or it'll just be another Call of Duty. Either way, for Microsoft as a company, it's good money. But for us, for you and me, for players, it's yet another long-ass wait with very, very limited payoff.
Yeah, absolutely. If I could jump in there, Wooly, and I'd probably touch on stuff that everyone else
Go for
has.
it. I've dropped the mic. I'm giving it to you guys.
Maybe I will. Sorry if I sort of reiterate some of those points, but maybe it'll tie it up, and you can get on to the next thing where you were saying the why, the risks, the impacts. But I mean, starting with sort of what Deezy said, I had some notes on that too, and you know, it's kind of like what I'd prefer to sort of see from Microsoft, and then you know some of the issues I have with what they're doing.
Hold on, mate. I'm just gonna raise your volume. Your volume's a bit low. Hold on. Sorry, pal. Right, carry on.
Just going to say some notes I got on like the issues I have with this, and maybe it's my own spin on it, but like I feel like in a normal market, sort of with traditional players, like the success or failure of a particular idea, a venture, like a business model, it's always determined by the consumers. So if the consumers agree or resonate with what that company's doing, we always hear this term: you vote with your wallet. And as a result, that company makes a profit. And, you know, the greater the profit, the greater the success, the greater the approval from the consumers. Now, if the consumers don't like what the company's doing, they don't buy their product or services. And if they don't make a sufficient return on those products, services, or that business strategy, then they adapt or they change or they go out of business. Now, the difference with Microsoft is they can basically ignore all that. They can afford to ignore this dynamic. They can ignore the losses from their Xbox division. They can ignore what the majority of consumers are indicating they really want, and basically force their vision and their ideology on the industry. So, in my opinion, like Sony and Nintendo have earned the trust and support of gamers, and that's why they're the leaders in the market. We voted with our wallets. That's the preferred sort of business models and business practices that the industry wants, the consumers want. Microsoft hasn't. They've been third place for sort of the last 20 years. And while I'm not going to take anything away from them, they've done well. They've done some, you know, really great things, pushing online gaming, made some great games of their own. They've always remained the tertiary option for gamers. And despite this, they're able to use, and I think Odie touched on this, they're able to use profits generated outside of this industry to prop up their Xbox division and effectively begin to buy success and buy influence, you know, which seems to be heading towards forcing gamers into their ecosystem rather than enticing them. And, you know, from the revenue point of view, Microsoft was the fourth biggest revenue gaming company, and Activision was the fifth. So after the acquisition, Xbox is now the second biggest gaming company in terms of revenue, and potentially when all the cards, you know, fall where they will, they may actually be the biggest, and they've kind of bought that position. They haven't earned it. So I look at Game Pass, like lauded as the future of gaming, and it's very likely not self-sustaining. I think most people agree it's not profitable, and it may not be for years or decades. I mean, or ever, according to some. Forky has said this before, I think. he doesn't think it may ever be profitable. So sure, if it's reached 25 million subs over 5 years with God knows how many $1 sub deals, and it's had access to what, like maybe even 1 billion gamers if you believe the reports on how many PC gamers there are. So they've had access to all these gamers, and they've managed 25 million subs over 5 years. Consider that a $500 console has sold nearly 20 million in only 14 months. At 100 times, 10 times, over 10 times the value, 20 times the value of it, and it's selling at more than double the rate they can sell a $1 subscription service. So it's pretty clear that what the majority of gamers, I'm not saying it's great value, but the majority of gamers still prefer that traditional model. They're going with Sony or Nintendo. But instead of accepting this, Microsoft's going to continue to try and force their ecosystem, you into their ecosystem and into Game Pass by acquiring. I don't think this is the end. I think they're going to keep acquiring more. And the more third-party IP they acquire, the more people will be forced into their ecosystem. So they want to play these games. Now if I didn't have a PC, I definitely feel like I needed to sort of buy an Xbox to keep playing these games. Like maybe not so much so far, but it's starting to get to the point where I'm like, well, there is quite a few games now that I can't play on my PlayStation. I'd have to have another system.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's an issue that the value of Game Pass seems too good to be true, and it probably is. And once Microsoft moves beyond the growth stage and acquiring new content, acquiring new subs, and then they actually start to try and turn this around and say, now we need to make a profit on this, that's the point where we'll know what the ramifications of this are.
Yeah, exactly.
At that stage, it may be too late to change course, because we're all in on this. The industry's all in on this one business model, which really hasn't been supported by the vast majority of the consumers. That's kind of what I don't like with what they're doing. And to touch on what Deezy said, I feel like I want competition from Microsoft, but not this kind of sort of competition, if you can even call it that. Like with $70 billion or $100 billion in acquisitions, the amount of things they could have contributed to the industry, it's just it's insane. And I would like to see that contribution of new IP. And I don't expect every IP to hit on the level of Halo or Gears, but if they'd have been investing in their studios and the industry like they could have, we may have 10 or 15 IP on the same level as Halo Gears or Forza by now. New IP, not just existing IP that's been gated behind a certain ecosystem. I mean, they have got a history of, like I was looking through it, they've got a history of producing and taking a chance on some pretty big IP back with the original Xbox. Like we had Halo, like Jade Empire, Ninja Gaiden started on Xbox, Knights of the Old Republic, Splinter Cell started on Xbox, Fable.
Well, Ninja Gaiden started on Nintendo, but
sorry.
Yeah, but it started on Nintendo, but like I said, Japanese studio was also hungry for technology to push the visuals and to up the ante and action. So when Microsoft came out with that, it was just an obvious choice for them, because Microsoft was innovating with great graphics, a strong machine that had plenty of stuff. So like this is literally to piggyback off of what you're saying, HD. The Microsoft they have people within there that are creatives. The problem is they don't put creative people in charge. The creative people are secondary. It's business people running it. That's why you have the
Matt Booty. That's why you have Matt Booty. He's in the damage control sector, and he doesn't even know how to quality control his studios. Right. He's just like, yeah, you guys just do your thing, and we look forward to seeing a game at some point. And it's like, is that it?
Yeah.
Is that all you do? Here Yoshida is like, this needs changing, this isn't good enough. No, you need to work on this. This needs another 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they do have what they call a limited integration strategy, where they're kind of hands off because it seems like they're not confident in making changes that will be for the better. So they're very hands off. But yeah, accept that correction, DZ. I guess it's a bit like Final Fantasy VII, where Square liked the sort of technology that PS1 could offer over the cartridges and stuff. But still, like, even you go into 360 era and you can see a lot of titles they had to go at. They just didn't sort of continue to support them, or they didn't own the IP. Like, Gears started there, Lost Odyssey, Blue Dragon, Alan Wake, Mass Effect started there. So they kind of did this at the start of Xbox One. They Rise, Son of Rome, Quantum Break. They had a go, but they haven't supported these studios, and they don't seem to be able to manage them to support these IP. It's kind of like they fall back to their Gears, Halo, and Forza, the well-known ones. I mean, we got Sea of Thieves, but that was kind of it. And it just seems like DZ said about that 8-year point. It just seemed like they gave up. They just stopped. And that old Microsoft died, and for better or worse, what arose out of those ashes was a company that's not interested in the traditional console model anymore, or on really producing quality IP. What we got was a company that had decided it was better to buy success than to build it, and they've all gaming. Yep.
Yeah, well, yeah, to say that, and like, I hope there are not any Xbox fans in here that think that I have an issue with Xbox. I have an issue with Xbox's direction with the creatives and how they've handled that, right? Like most people, like, if we do a history lesson on how Microsoft wanted to get into the gaming industry, they first wanted to buy Nintendo because they could, because they thought that they could. They wanted to buy Nintendo. And Nintendo, and we all know the story. We all know the story how Nintendo laughed them out of the meeting room and told them to get the fuck. But that was their
out of
thing.
Here.
That's telling you how they approached getting into an industry, because they did not have any kind of experience in it. So the thing was to go ahead and procure a company and then get into it that way. And that has been somewhat their mantra for quite some time with a lot of things, and that died down during the Xbox 360 era, the era I call their golden age, the era where everything coalesced for a perfect storm. That was the only era where they were very, very strong on the whims of talent and smart business moves. They were developer focused. They were developer focused during the Xbox 360 era,
and that's why the console rocked.
They were developer focused during the Xbox 360 era. They were communicative. They'd taken everything that they'd learned from running the Xbox after making a semi-successful Xbox. They cut things short, jumped ahead, started talking with developers, including developers at the seat of the table, and then giving them what they wanted. And then they started investing in some of those IPs. They started making deals, Mass Effect, Too Human, Tomb Raider. They started associating themselves with Silicon Valley to make Silicon. I forget the company that was working on Tomb Raider at that time.
Oh no, sorry. No, continue. I was going to say, I thought you were talking about Too Human. I think that was Silicon Knights, but yeah, no.
Silicon Knights, yeah. And then, they made things. They bought Rare. They reinvested in. They greenlit things from Rare. They established the Forza. They established the Forza team and whatnot. They were pumping more money into Halo. Halo was doing incredible. They were making third-party deals. They were doing just the right things. They made a profit. That was the time they made a profit. And they squandered all of that once they changed from having creatives at the front of at the front of the table to people like Don Matrick, and them closing down studios like what was it? Lionhead. So Microsoft was at that point building up to about maybe 6 or 7 studios, and they were what was the term that I'm looking for? They were complementing those studio strengths with key smart third-party deals, and then then they were also forming alliances with strong Japanese studios. Like, who could forget the massive fucking earth-shaking news when we realized that Microsoft had negotiated bringing Final Fantasy finally to the Xbox platform, and not just Final Fantasy 13 not just Final Fantasy 11 online. They later managed to steal exclusives, games that were normally exclusive to PlayStation for a limited time with Devil May Cry, but they also did it with Final Fantasy 13. And since then, that was a massive turning point. So Microsoft was competing. They were spending the money and doing the things that a creative company would, right? And then at the turn of all that, Sony became humbled and began doing the very same thing that Microsoft was doing during the 360 era. That era is gone. Like, they're no longer creative focused. They may have creatives, right? But they're no longer creative focused. They've stopped investing their billions, their trillions into the Xbox. Now they're going out and purchasing and buying things. Like, 15 years ago was the last time that they were profitable. 15 years ago was the last time that they were ever giving Sony a run for their money.
Yeah.
And that was because creatives were looking at it. So like, there's this mantra going on that, like, people are saying, well, nobody was screaming monopoly when Sony owned the industry for selling 119 PlayStation 4s last generation. And like, I have to stop and laugh, because you could not be more uneducated and ignorant about what the term monopoly means and how it pertains to the gaming industry. Selling 119, singling out Sony and saying Sony has a monopoly on the industry because they own more than 50% of, because right now the PlayStation 4 has amassed 53 or 50 something percent of the market share, is not a monopoly. When the industry is free right now, it's a free market. You gain market share like that when you successfully market and produce content, successfully marketed and targeted specifically for that audience. That's a free market. Like, it's the same thing. No one, like, it's funny how a lot of these people who are claiming, well, Sony has a monopoly. Well, are you also forgetting that the Nintendo Switch is selling 80 million units right now? They're probably almost about to hit 100 million units right now. They're not the only ones who have mastered business economics in terms and marketing for creating content and marketing it to the free market so that you can amass your consumer base. This is how you carve out your niche. This is how successful markets carve out their niche. When you have a monopoly, means that you are forcefully, and when I say forcefully, you are buying up assets, taking them from the free market and locking them into an ecosystem, and then that ecosystem is the only way you have to access these things. So like Call of Duty, things like Call of Duty and Overwatch, which are quite popular, and League of Legends and all those other things, those are all available free market. That's available right now. They've been available for decades on 3 different ecosystems in one way, shape, or form. 4, if you count the PC. And when you'd rather jump to the head of the line and buy 16 of your almost 32. So like Microsoft is right now at 28 studios. If this acquisition goes through, they'll be up to 31 or 32 studios.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? 31 or 32 studios.
And Sony's
16,
out 21, right? PlayStation, is it?
Well,
is it,
game making studios is 17.
Right.
And then they have support studios and whatnot to help out. But like 16 of those studios were making content not just for Xbox, but for PlayStation, for Nintendo, and servicing the PC market. 16 of those studios. It's not a case like, say, it's not a case where you say Microsoft bought the Forza Horizon team because, the Forza Horizon team was making games for Sony. That studio was already very closely affiliated with Microsoft. So that was a smart purchase. That's a move like what Sony did with Insomniac. That's a move like what Sony did with Housemarque, my favorite studio. That establishment was already there. That relationship was there. So like Microsoft is spending money because they can, because they have all that. And these are what you call inorganic, malignant purchases. These are inorganic growth opportunities. They're aggressive too, because you are literally taking 16 studios, a publisher, 2 massive publishers.
It's not a good look, bro.
Yeah,
it's not a good look.
There's no way to spin. Like, there's no way to spin this.
There was a friend of mine and yours, DZ. I won't say names. I love the guy. Don't get me wrong, but he was trying to coat this with a silver lining. As long as Bobby Kotick is going, that this is amazing. This is good news for the industry. And I was like, dude, that guy's getting.
I know what you're talking about.
This guy's getting $350 million payout and getting all the support in the world. He's just had his CEO ship secured for another 2 years approx. There's no silver lining here. They've just bought God knows how many studios away from the industry to profit off these cash cow IPs that
it goes, and this is my rebuttal to this. It's like, you can't say Sony has a monopoly on the industry because they have amassed a market share out of smartly using their assets. Their PlayStation IPs are the reason why people are buying into the PlayStation, right? And then they're also using their capital by selectively associating third-party IPs with them over a period of time, right? So while they may exclude some people from Final Fantasy while they may exclude some people from Final Fantasy 16 and what's the other one, Forspoken, for 2 years or however long that may be, those IPs are still coming to other platforms later, right? It's the same thing. It's no different than when Microsoft excluded people from Dead Rising 3. It's no different from when Microsoft excluded people from Tomb Raider or Titanfall, like,
yeah, they do it too.
or the first Mass Effect, the first and second Mass Effect were time exclusives until EA circumvented stuff. So like these tactics work in bringing and diversifying your platform, but like to literally go in and buy the largest publisher, and then buy another publisher, 16 studios that were free to abide by the rules of every other platform and still find their place within the industry and contribute, you know, are now going to be 90% of their content is going to be locked to the unless they're mega sellers like Call of Duty, which have contractual agreements to be this way and whatnot. The rest of these IPs and everything, there's over 20 plus IPs that are popular that will be locked to Microsoft from this thing.
Mm-hmm.
From this acquisition, if it goes through, like it could even be more. It could even be more. But like when you stop and think about this, like I get that there's a war for content and everything, but like this push, and I'm talking about the risk that it puts to the industry now. This risk puts an onus on the free industry, smaller ones now, that and the only way that they're going to be able to get on the Xbox platform is now that Microsoft now controls 32 studios. They're the biggest ones too. Now they have to answer to the thing, well, Game Pass is going to be this. All these games are here. We control this many. Microsoft probably now controls over, when this thing goes through, they're probably going to control about 70%, 70 IPs.
Yeah.
That's insane.
So,
70 IPs. And they're going to now say, we have all this power, this leverage here.
So I just want to say a quick, very warm welcome to fellow panel member David Faulkner. He's arrived late, but he's here. What's good, David?
So good, mate. So good.
It's great that you're here, buddy. Thanks for being here. So yeah,
sorry, mate.
No, it's absolutely all good. So, guys, the big question that everybody's trying to ask. Go on. Sorry.
Let me finish up.
Sorry,
my thing,
DZ.
and then we'll go.
Forgive me. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're fine. When you control that many IPs and you're now trying to strong arm and push the Game Pass thing as the only way forward for your revenue and for generating profit, an indie developer that may be mid-tier or small will have no negotiating power saying, no, I don't want this on Game Pass, I want this on the platform, but I can't do Game Pass because there's no guarantee that I'm going to get the money that I need or I'm going to get the exposure. When it's something like that, Microsoft can literally say, well, it's Game Pass or no. And, it's Game Pass or no. And because they may want the specific audience on Xbox, they're going to have no choice but to put it there. And if they don't make that profit, what happens? That studio then says, well, to hell with this. I'll just put this on PC or I'll just put this on another platform where I could get this kind of stuff. But like, if you're trying to reach the widest possible audience as an independent, you'd want to have access to everything. And if you're watching your finances on stuff like this and how you're going to do this, your target audience may not be a subscription-based audience. And when you're focused on that and you're Microsoft at this large with that many studios and that many pushes to strong arm and push the subscription base as the only way that you're going to be able to thrive on our platform, that becomes scary for the mid-tier and the small tier. And even then, you may have other smaller publishers like you have the independent publishers like Annapurna, Devolver Digital, and all these other small independent publishers may say, well, we want to put this on Xbox, but they may be gauging past performances on certain things and say like, look, we just rather just have people pay right now. And when Microsoft gets that big, then it becomes a thing of, well, this is what it is. I'm sorry. I'm playing hardball because I want my platform to be this. It has to be on Game Pass. And I'm sorry, you can't put your thing on here because you can't get on Xbox unless it's not on Game Pass. And that's the scary thing that I'm worried about. And this is coming from me as an independent. as an independent developer in an independent studio with plans to put things on Xbox and plans to put things on the Switch, plans to put things on the on PC, and plans to put things on PlayStation. These are the kind of thing. These are actual concerns, and it becomes a thing of, well, if I'm going to be strong armed into this, how am I going to have to switch up my marketing? What am I going to have to do to make what's going to be my backup plan when I don't make the proper profit?
So
can.
As an indie developer yourself, Sev, this must be like, I mean, that's such a potent and powerful thing for people to hear. I mean,
concern that is dealing with.
Yeah, it's potent and real. I mean, guys, for those who are new, we've had 75 live viewers watching tonight. It's the most popular stream we've had so far. I think it's 11 over the record. It's incredible. The support this show's getting tonight. DZ is a developer. He's a game developer at Fireslug Studios. He's got big ambitions for the future he's going places, trust me on that, and it's really exciting for him. But I mean, you've just heard it from him. You've just heard it from a developer's mouth. It's not just this random article that I showed you previously. That's the showing just one developer who's concerned with the way that this industry is, how Microsoft is almost creating leverage to strong arm developers into, well, it's either Game Pass or no sales, because everybody's drawn to Game Pass. You know, that's the future that they want, and that's the future that they're heading for. You've heard it yourself from a developer. I mean, you don't need me or anyone else to tell you anything, you know, to tell you otherwise. But this developer echoed very similar sentiments. I just worry we're trending in a direction that is less friendly towards innovation, says Sheffield, concerned about an acquisition like this sucking all the oxygen out of the room for smaller developers that don't have the backing of larger studios or publishers who are no longer interested in promoting indie titles. I don't want us working all for the same three companies and making the same kind of games, or different shades or flavors of the same games. And that's exactly what Activision is, my dudes. And that's exactly what Activision is, and that's exactly what Xbox have bought. So, I mean, go on.
You like, no. Like, to piggyback off of what that Dev said off of Sheffield, like, you think about it, like, hostile. I mean, maybe I wouldn't even call this a hostile takeover from Microsoft, because Bobby's throwing Activision all over the place, trying to get somebody to take over because they were hemorrhaging funds and people were just not happy, right? So, like, I get the need to want a daddy to save you or whatnot, but like, when you go to a platform holder, that changes things, right? If Tencent was supposed to buy Activision, I would scratch my head and kind of worry, but Tencent would keep Activision as Activision, right? Because Tencent would, all these games, all these IPs would still be a part of the industry's established ecosystem
of monetization, exactly. Right? You're talking about
monetization. You're not. These things would still exist. Yeah, these things would still exist, right? So people are saying, well, why would you have the same thing if Sony bought this? And I said, hell yes, I would feel the same way, because you are literally removing third-party publishers and players that were perfectly fine and happy gaming on Nintendo or gaming on Xbox, that now have to come over to PlayStation in some cases. Like, Overwatch is popular, Overwatch is massive, but like, Overwatch is almost going to 100% be Xbox exclusive. I could tell you that. Crash Bandicoot, which used to be PlayStation oriented and everything, has agreements with Sony and is still a PlayStation IP, a PlayStation fan favorite IP, and people have been crying for that, is now officially going to be, once the contractual agreements for PlayStation has run its course from these contractual agreements, that's going to be an Xbox exclusive. So the people who love the people on Nintendo Switch or the people on PlayStation who loved those games are now forced to go. This is what you call malignant practice and antitrust, because once you've removed freely accessible content that was making its way through the free market, and now you take that and you put that deliberately and lock it behind one platform or one ecosystem, that's where the antitrust stuff comes from. So like, if this was Tencent or another big publisher buying Activision or merging with Activision to become an even superpower and whatnot, I would scratch my head and I would worry just a little bit, but like, I still would not have this big of a fear, because these IPs, these gaming experiences would still be freely accessible to the Xbox community, the Nintendo community, the PlayStation community, and whatever else console that manages to show up and shake things up and makes this a four-legged race for whatever, or five-legged race if you're counting PC. Mm-hmm. So like I need for, if there are any Xbox guys in here, and y'all will know me that I love PlayStation, but if there's any Xbox guys in here, I need y'all to know that I am not slighting y'all for celebrating this. I am slighting the idea that Microsoft is inching far more to a monopoly in controlling where free content that was available freely to everybody, like your cross play and stuff like this. If you cross play was a part of, if you had friends that had crossplay and whatnot, and you enjoyed playing with your PlayStation buddies with people on Xbox, well, now your PlayStation buddies aren't going to be able to play with certain things because, well, it's now exclusive to that. And suddenly your friends drop it out and your ecosystem starts to become not as fun because your friend can't play with you anymore. So like, these are things that you guys should consider, right? Yeah. Your Xbox is getting good.
I'd love go on. Sorry, OT.
Oh yeah, you see what? Sorry guys, I need to go soon, but I just wanted to add this. If you look at Xbox as a company and look at its pillars, you'll notice that number one, Gears was not developed by Xbox. It was developed by Epic, and then Microsoft bought it. Halo was not developed by Xbox. It was developed by Bungie, and then Xbox bought them. So literally, they have never been able to create a very successful IP. And I'll not count Forza as successful because the fact that it has been there for 3 generations and only sold 16 million, that financially is not successful. People confuse that a high review does not mean success to the company. Now, when you look at PlayStation and look at its origins, Naughty Dog started with things like, Crash Bandicoot? If you look at where they've gone, they have now
Mortal Kombat knockoff. Forgot the title of that.
Yes,
but where they have, what I'm saying is where Naughty Dog have gone from Crash Bandicoot or whatever they started with, they are now passed with Jack and Dexter, and then they went to Uncharted, and then they've gone to Last of Us, and now they're moving to a new IP. You can be so confused to say which leg is PlayStation, because you can't say Gears, Forza, Halo for PlayStation, because PlayStation keeps evolving. So what I'm seeing is Xbox has always had a creative issue, and they always result in let me buy. And that means that their philosophy as a company is not creative. It is just use money. And that's why I think the companies that have joined Xbox, some of them struggle. You look at Rare. Rare used to be dealing with Nintendo. That was the peak of Rare's abilities. Now we're looking at a diminished Rare. The Sea of Thieves to me is a joke compared to what they used to produce for Nintendo.
Yeah.
When you look at what Platinum Games did with Microsoft, it failed. So Japan, even Square Enix had a deal with Microsoft. Again, their profits diminished when they were trying to deal with Microsoft. If you look at Tomb Raider, they made a deal with Microsoft. Tomb Raider is less of an IP today than when it was working with PlayStation. So there seems to be this thing that people are not realizing. When you look at history, when Xbox seemed to take some of these beloved IPs, somehow we have not seen them breathe life into them. So you might end up finding that Call of Duty is diminished in 3 years. You've taken it away. And that's why I said at the beginning, does Call of Duty need PlayStation more than PlayStation needs Call of Duty? I think in the end, new IPs, man, I'm not even panicking.
Bro,
Let Xbox
facts.
go and buy all these studios, buy all these publishers. They will all be replaced because we've learned from history. These people get replaced. That is what has happened. So sorry, guys, I've got to go. I've got to take care of the baby. But thanks so much for having me on the podcast.
Thank you so much, brother. As always, we'd love to have you.
Sorry, I got to leave as well.
Yeah, Zuby, thank you so much, Zuby, for being here. It's great. It's great that you were here. It means a lot.
Yeah, it was,
take care, guys.
Thanks for having me as well. Thanks to the panel as well. Good to talk to you guys.
Yeah, as always.
Catch up with you soon, mate.
We need more of We need more of this again, Zuby. So come back.
100%.
Definitely.
100%. He always delivers, our Zuby. Yeah, appreciate you, bro. Good night, OT. Much love, bro.
Take care.
Good night, Zuby. Yeah, guys, absolute fire discussion so far. I want to hear from the rest of the panel. I know Akira has a lot to say about Sony's recent marketing strategy. We will get into that. If you need to rush, Akira, and you need to get into that sooner than later, just let me know, and we'll divert to that temporarily.
Yeah.
And then jump back. But I do want to ask as well the question everybody's asking, that everybody wants to know the answer to. First of all, is this a monopoly now? And how is Sony? And I know we're concerned about the whole industry as a whole, and I don't want to sound like I'm solely focused on Sony, isolated away from the entire industry, because this affects everyone. All eyes are on Microsoft right now for what they've done, but at the same time, there's this trending narrative that Xbox's main competitor, which is PlayStation, are in trouble because of this. But as OT touched on masterfully, I really don't think they are at all. But I want to hear your thoughts. And is PlayStation in trouble? If not, how do you expect them to respond? And what have they? How have they built up? How have they planned for this?
I'm gonna stay silent until everybody else is gone, because I've said a lot, but like I also have my own thoughts. But like I'd like to give the floor to anybody else to to speak on this topic first.
Thanks, easy, bro.
Yeah.
I just want to say that because I mentioned Microsoft escalated the content war, a lot of hands will start to get forced. The saddest thing for me about this move is Sony won't be able to do what they've been always doing, which is a Haven, a Deviation Games, a Firewalk, nurturing small studios, build them up to be great, just like how they did with Naughty Dog, just like how they did with Insomniac, just like how they did with Sucker Punch. They cannot do the cultural way anymore because Microsoft changed the industry with this purchase. It escalated the content war to an alarming rate that it will be detrimental if Sony loses their most powerful, beloved IPs. The strongest IPs that they have that define the PlayStation brand, if they start losing all of this, they're gonna be in big trouble. For example, Final Fantasy, definitely. Street Fighter, Resident Evil, Metal Gear Solid. All these beloved third-party IPs that defined the PlayStation brand. If they start losing some of them, then I would get extremely worried for them because
it would just be basically it would be criminal, dude.
Yeah. So that was as much as I really hate the idea of Sony buying too many studios, a publisher, for example. I really hate that idea, but because of what Microsoft did, they must do it. They need manpower. They need studios. They need more variety. They need a lot of things because Sony does not have a Western RPG developer, for example. They don't have a proper first-person shooter developer. This variety, they need to be filled out now because of what happened. Because when Microsoft purchased Activision, the variety of IPs they just received with Bethesda just skyrocketed to insane heights. And Sony also has a shit ton of IPs, but they don't have enough manpower right now to make all the games for all these IPs. Which is why they are required to do it the non-cultural way. And to be honest, that would be meaning to buy studios for manpower and possibly one publisher. And one or two publisher. And sadly, that's kind of like where Microsoft forced this direction towards, because a lot of these companies will start buying more content, because I don't think this is Microsoft's last purchase in the content war. And again, if people are going to ask me, of course, two publishers that I will always look at that, in my opinion, belongs to Sony, I would say that they belong to Sony as of this point, is Capcom and Square Enix.
Yeah.
That's how I view things.
So,
but yeah, I'm gonna let the other talk.
No, anybody else? No, Kara, what you're saying is, you just spitting facts, bro, and I couldn't agree more. You're definitely highlighting the main concern, and how really Microsoft have kind of put hopefully this move, if it goes through, puts a copper nail in Microsoft's stump. I'm hoping it stops. It prevents them from being able to do any more to the industry in purchasing more. I doubt it, but I really freaking hope so. But carry on to the rest of the panel. Anyone else who wants to add?
The way I see it in relation with the...
Sorry, Wilhelm, you go first, brother,
wait, guys,
and then we'll get HD Gamer.
I will get back. I'm just gonna be away for 15 minutes.
Okay, brother.
I'm gonna get back.
All right, Akira, bro. Carry on, Wilhelm. Sorry.
The way I see it in relation with Sony, it kind of reminds me of the old Microsoft-Apple rivalry. Back when Apple was with Steve Jobs at their prime. In a way that we've had, for example, Microsoft, a company that back then, like I've said, operated literally the same way they do now, with their antitrust methods. And then we had Apple, who are in that case like Sony today, a company that tried to actually bring something to the table, that tried to innovate, that tried to put things to the next level. So I think that those acquisitions won't affect Sony negatively in any way, because due to the simple reason that Sony actually cares and has passion for what they do. You know, with Microsoft, with the recent acquisition, they proved once again that they're a corporation through and through. No love, no passion, no sweat, no blood, no tears go into anything they do. You know, um, it dates as far back as with the old Apple rivalry when they literally copied the Macintosh software back when Apple was at a low. You know, their products became a bit unpopular for the wider mass. So Microsoft kind of used that to copy the Macintosh software to utilize it for their own operating system. And Windows itself is not that great of an operating system. You know, Windows 10, for example. The reason why so many people use that operating system is because so many programs are exclusive to that operating system. Many games are, all the games are pretty much exclusive in a way to that operating system, and most pre-built PCs are pre-installed with that operating system.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I think that Sony will still won't be negatively affected in that battle is because they actually care about what they do. They actually don't see it like Microsoft. They don't want to just see how they can buy. They don't want to see how they can just make profits every single day. They actually want to bring the industry further. They actually want to, just like Apple, revolutionize and to reinvent. Like you see it with their new VR headset. They with the in and out, inside out tracking and the eye tracking. They want to bring the platform VR further. They want to bring it to the next step. So I think, just like with Apple and Microsoft again, the reason why Microsoft Zune failed, back when back when music, buying music digitally was like a brand new thing. Back then you either had to buy like a CD or you ripped it like straight from the internet from websites like LimeWire or Napster. The reason why Zune failed is because Microsoft had no love for music. The reason why the iPod on the other hand was hugely successful is because Apple loved music. Steve Jobs loved music.
The Walkman succeeded because Sony loved music.
Exactly. So Steve Jobs saw the problem. He saw that people didn't want to pirate music just because they were like cruel or anything. They just wanted to have a more convenient way of listening to their favorite songs, bands, artists. So they crafted the iPod. It's like it's like something from music fans to music fans in a way. Like kind of like the thing we are doing right now. We all are people who are passionate about video games, talking about video games, which is why this all works. We all love the medium. If we would just pretending to, if we would just phone it in, then it obviously wouldn't work.
They just have no taste.
They just have no taste, like Steve Jobs said. So I think Sony won't be negatively affected whatsoever because they care about what they do, and the people obviously, the consumer especially, will appreciate that because you do, at the end of the day, you'd rather want the iPod than the Zune.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, and I keep saying this over and over again. Mindshare is a very powerful thing, and Sony and PlayStation have arguably more mindshare in the developer community than they even do in the consumer base. Like, they're huge in the consumer base, like for like you and me, and mindshare in general globally, but I mean, among developers, that right now, even more so after Microsoft's moves, they've kind of shone an angelic light on Sony and kind of painted a target. I can't speak today. Painted a target on their own backs from this move. But I wanted to hear HD Gamer, and then I want to give the mic over to David Faulkner as well, and hear his thoughts, because I'm betting he has a lot to say. He's like a kettle that's like he's boiling right now with things that he wants to get out. So HD Gamer, you had a few things you wanted to say, but Will, you're absolutely spot on, mate, and I absolutely loved your take. 100%.
Sorry, but Yellow Devil, how am I on wheat? How am I on wheat? Can you explain me, please? Where did I say that Sony doesn't want to make money? How the fuck? I just said that Sony's interest, why Sony will survive, is because Sony actually care for what they do. They actually want to move the industry further, but I didn't say that Sony won't care about money. So explain this to me,
Yellow. I think Yellow Devil's the one on weed. Bro, listen to what the panel say.
Listen to my words before you judge.
Big facts.
You maggot.
Charlie Sheen speaking there. His energy through you. HD Gamer, hit us, bro. What?
Thank you. Look,
no worries.
Excellent point sort of brought up by everyone so far. And look, I could probably talk about maybe what I think the risks, sort of the impacts are to Sony, and then quickly what I think sort of their response is. And
that would be great, yeah. Sum it up for us, bro, because that's kind of like the meaty part that I want clarifying.
Yeah, and look, I might, disagree, differ on some opinions, and it's probably going to be good, because I think Dave might disagree with me here, and it'd be interesting to hear his thoughts. But look, I think the risks impact to Sony, I'm not going to pretend I can really even predict these. Like, there's so many different potential impacts, risks to consider, and it's really hard to quantify some of those yet, and they're highly dependent on a multitude of factors and interdependencies. It's just hard to gauge at this stage. But I think the biggest risk sort of people probably have in their minds is is how it's going to affect their bottom line. How it will affect their market share? Will it affect their market share? How many players are they going to lose? Are they going to lose any players? Sony's, I think we talked about this before, Sony's biggest revenue stream is their third-party software sales, or third-party software in terms of sales and their add-on content. I mean, it seems obvious that if you reduce the amount of third-party software that they have by making that third-party software Microsoft first-party software, the greater the impact's going to be on this revenue stream. So I'm sort of thinking, if Microsoft sort of continue to make sort of further acquisitions as well, kind of what that impact's going to be, as well as kind of what the impact already is with Bethesda and Activision. But I guess, you'll have a reduction in third-party software sales. I don't know by how much, what exactly that impact's going to be. I don't think Sony are extremely worried on the revenue impact they're going to have. I think they can make it up in other areas, but I think there's an indirect impact, and that is how many players they lose, how many people are going to switch platforms, how many people are going to pick up an Xbox as a secondary system, that kind of thing. Because each player lost is not just the lost revenue from those third party software acquisitions. It's a lost revenue from the third-party titles that Microsoft hasn't yet acquired. It's a loss in first-party software revenue, revenue from the services like PS Plus. And I guess that's really the question. How many people will make the jump? I'm not really sure. I thought about it. I really couldn't tell you, but I know you could probably, break these people. There's probably 4 rough groups. You've got, the people that play 1 or 2 games a year and maybe dabble with a few others. For those players, if 1 or more of their primary games are now on Xbox, and they haven't yet picked up a PS5, and they were thinking of it, I could see them making the switch. There's the casuals who enjoy, a number of different games, maybe 4 to 5 games a year. You've got a bit more of a diverse taste in that first group. Bit harder to predict because it's going to come down to sort of the relative importance they put on those titles. So if even 3 of the 5 games they play each year are now on Xbox, maybe the 2 remaining will have a greater relative importance, so they don't feel the need to make the switch. But the more software Microsoft acquires, it's going to be this accumulative effect where people maybe who haven't yet got a system keep reevaluating what software is available on each. I think then you've got the hardcore console gamers like us. We play nearly all the Sony first-party software titles as well as a lot of third-party titles, and from this crowd, I don't see many, abandoning PlayStation and making that switch to Xbox. They may pick up an Xbox, or if they've got a PC like I do, they may just play their games on PC. So I don't think the impact there is going to be too great. But yeah, it's just really hard to say. It's just going to come down to how many players, like how it affects their sales and how many players they kind of lose. And if it's minimal, or they can make that up with other strategies or other moves, then it might not really impact them. And it's depending on so many things. Like what other acquisitions does Microsoft make? I don't think they're finished making acquisitions.
That's the only thing that scares me. I'm not really scared about this initial acquisition of Activision Blizzard. I think their value is based on a handful of cash cow games rather than many games, and so the IPs that although there's a lot of old IPs that Xbox can bring back, to be honest, I think they're more geared as a company to milking the shit out of cash cows rather than adding first-party diversity in terms of games to Game Pass. I think, they'll rely more on the Call of Duty name than they will, for example, I don't know, like maybe Hexen, something like that. However, the fear that I have is that, like all of you have brought up, that they now go like wolves for smaller studios and developers, and if they have any savvy about them, these devs, they'll say no. But I think Sony are going to be more aggressive than ever in partnerships and communication. They've already been extremely aggressive in reaching out and befriending the industry, in being friends of developers, giving them a platform, giving them what they need to create even their own studios that aren't first-party studios of Sony. They've helped Haven, Firewalk, and Deviation to get on their feet. And so, but at the same time, I think now Sony are not going to hold anything back, and that could be a blessing. This could be a blessing. But if Microsoft were to go further and purchase even more, that will be extremely worrying for me. But
yeah, I mean, absolutely. Look, just to continue on, I do think they're going to buy more. And look, I'm not an expert on antitrust or anything like that, because from my opinion, I look at PCs and the operating systems in that market. I mean, what decisions do we really make on what operating system we're going to use? It's Windows, and for me, I'm like, wow, if they get away with that, and they're able to buy this deal goes through, and they buy the biggest third-party publisher, I just don't see there's going to be an issue if they go, well, we've just picked up Ubisoft, like even Take-Two. Like it's far less than this deal with Activision. So I don't know. Maybe they'll block it. I just can't see what's going to trigger it if they get this deal through. Where's the point where antitrust will come in? I just don't know. But as I said, look, it depends. The impact is saying it's going to depend on what other acquisitions Microsoft make. We still don't know exactly the details around exclusivity. I'm assuming that eventually, once all those contractual obligations are up, the majority of their titles are going to be exclusive. I don't really trust what Phil says. I think the way he words it's very ambiguous. They have a desire to keep COD on PlayStation. A desire, that doesn't really mean they will. Could be a lot of caveats to that. We have the desire to keep it on PlayStation if Sony accepts less of a cut, 15% as opposed to 30%, or a Sony agrees to put Game Pass on their platform. There could be, I don't believe that desire to put COD on PlayStation or keep COD on PlayStation means they actually will. I think there's a lot of caveats to that. And then there's the Sony supply issues. Like, can they fix this? If they can solve their supply issues and they can get a lot of PS5s out there, they've got a pretty strong lineup the next year that we know about this year. They can get a lot of PS5s out there and build up that install base. I think the effect's going to be less. There's going to be more people already invested. I think once you're in the ecosystem, you're less likely to switch. So that's going to be important. And then it's Sony's release schedule over the next, 2 years or 3 years, at least before, like this acquisition. I think it's not going to go through till the end of 2023. And who knows, like, how long before those contractual obligations end. So if they can get, their lineup over the next 2 to 3 years is going to be really important, because it's going to, if you can, in essence, it's kind of like you're getting people to forget about these IPs that they think they've lost and focus on these new amazing IPs that are on PlayStation. I think if they can do that effectively, that's definitely going to affect, the market share sort of situation, how many they lose, I think you touched on before, maybe in your tweet, like how well Sony can expand into these emerging markets like China, South Korea, India, Africa, like how well they can establish their relationships in these regions.
And Akira, shout out to him, he highlighted a great point that China Hero Project could put their games onto Xbox, but Xbox hasn't reached out to any of the developers out there. It's like they haven't even tried. It's like Xbox they're not very savvy when it comes to any kind of gaming culture. Then they don't have awareness to.
They're very focused on North America.
Yeah,
that kind of demographic. They really don't seem to be looking outside of North America.
I mean, of all corporations to buy, they who did they buy at the worst possible time? It's really not a good look.
Yeah, and I mean, look, at the end of that, look, I didn't come up with as many potential benefits as I could see impacts, so maybe it's just the state of mind I'm in. So I'll be interested to hear Dave's thoughts on.
Dave, you are the placebo. No, I'm joking. You're the pacifier to all of this.
I want Dave to be in style. I want Dave to get to me.
I was going to say, I hope you're not expecting me to jump all over this. It's like maybe 10 hours to cover it all.
No, I know it's a challenge to consolidate.
Look, I'm trying to tie this up. Look, I just said, Mark, I think you've touched on it. Sony, I think Akira said, Sony maybe feel like the gloves are off now. They're not going to feel as restricted in what they do or feel they're being too aggressive. If Microsoft are being this aggressive, I think they're going to feel like they're absolutely able to do this. The loss of COD, I mean, that's going to release a lot of funds to Sony that they used to use to secure those, the marketing rights, the exclusive.
Mind you, they also did spend 100 billion. It's not 100 billion, 100 million each for each COD. Sony, according to Leviathan Gamer, who, he's a very knowledgeable dude and has insight in the industry. He may mention that Sony are one of the primary funders of each Call of Duty. So it saves them 100 million each year, guys.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be other benefits. It's going to release funds that they can spend elsewhere. And look, just quickly, Sony's response. Look, I think they've definitely got to, in a sense, continue to do what they're doing. It's really a hard one to sort of say what they should do. I mean, it seems obvious they should sort of keep doing what they're doing. Focus on producing, that quality content they're known for. Continue to foster those relationships with third-party devs. Work with and collaborate with those smaller studios like they are with Haven, Firewalk, Deviation Games. Continue initiatives like the China Hero Project. Even perhaps start up similar projects in other markets. I thought they had something similar in South Korea, but I'm not sure. But that's an opportunity. I do think they need to look at how they're planning to compensate for sort of a lack of presence in certain genres, like the FPS genre now.
I think they've got that covered. I think I've mentioned. In fact, I've got the tweet pinned on my profile. I could just play it for you guys. a little bit of interactive media here for you guys, because I'm limiting the stream to not showing gameplay as my internet is extremely temperamental at the moment. And I will fix it, I promise. But until then, it's just this moving world right now. But I'll show you guys this, and I'll play it for you guys. That covers the FPS genre, and then would love you guys' thoughts. But this pretty much directly answers HD Gamer's question as to in regards to FPS games. Check this out. Let me know what you think. This was me last week on the Saltiest Gaming podcast. Shout out to Saltiest Gamer, legend, and this was me on his.
Hire me.
Hire Wilhelm. Salty, do it. I'm ready to do my pony Froskurin.
Here we go.
Now, are you ready? So let's break this down. Insomniac have a third project in the works, which is a multiplayer game. Right. On top of that, we have Sucker Punch, which are working on a multiplayer game. We have Fire Sprite, which are working on a AAA IP action shooter. Confirmed. We are looking for an animation programmer to work on a groundbreaking next generation PvP shooter project. Guerrilla have a second project, which is a multiplayer shooter. Now, on top of all of this, you've got Haven, Firewalk Studios, and Deviation Games, all of which have had experience, feature developers with experience in FPS games, especially Deviation. Right.
Correct.
So when we break all of this down, what are the chances that one of these will be an FPS? You've got Insomniac, who have experience with Resistance. You've got Guerrilla, that have experience with Killzone. Fire Sprite, they have an ambitious AAA shooter, and they are working on a Star Citizen Theatres of War, it's called, so they have experience in FPS genre. They're really trying to push the bar out. I mean, it's no coincidence that they were snatched up just 4 months after DZ, who's a developer who's seen what they're working on, was saying on episode 1, I think, of the Company of Gamers podcast, how excited he is for people to see what this unknown studio that he couldn't mention at the time, but they're a studio that have worked with Sony in the past, and it's not what we think. And he was talking about Fire Sprite. That they're working on something we're not ready for. We're not ready for. It's so unique and so ambitious and so crazy. And then suddenly they get snatched up by Sony before they've shown anything. Why? Because they're so impressed by it too. So exactly. it adds up, right? So when we break all of this down, the chances are very high that one of these games is going to be an ambitious FPS multiplayer game. I hope that answered it for you guys. Literally, when this is all courtesy of Zubitech, by the way. He produces these amazing charts that show everything that's in development, everything we know. He consolidates all the info into these fantastic pieces of like posters almost that you can keep and download. Go follow Zuby_tech on Twitter. He is essential information. So shout out to him. But he provided that information for me to list off. But yeah, guys, so many talented studios working on exclusives for Sony, and they're all listed as shooters, ambitious shooters. One of them's groundbreaking. I mean, one of these will no doubt be an FPS.
So I think you're right. They've got that covered. They've got these shooters in development. The sound of it, and as you said, those multiplayer games. I think they're aware of that gap in their library, and they're trying to fill that. And that's, I think that will solve those issues too. So you're definitely right. Just to finish up that last point, and then I just want to hear Dave's thoughts. But the acquisitions of their own, I think, even if they can keep doing what they're doing, the concern I have is just the frequency of their releases. Like, maybe this won't be an issue, maybe it will, but I think it's going to depend, obviously, on if Microsoft can actually effectively execute on this plan and manage their studios. But if we see a scenario where Microsoft's able to release maybe 10 first-party titles a year, that's like one every 2 months. I think they can do that with 28, 30, 32 studios, so that's roughly right. if they can get that many out a year compared to say Sony's 3 to 4, now one-on-one, I'd put Sony's up against anything Microsoft has or is acquiring. I think they've still got the best games out there in the industry, but it's just the quantity. Now, Sony might have the higher rated games, and you may see those, 3 to 4 titles scoring around the 90 Metacritic, but if Microsoft can put out, 5 titles in the 80 plus range, 5 titles nearing the 80 range, you might still have some people looking at those libraries and saying, which one do they prefer? I think you'll see one option, like I think Akira mentioned, is increasing their manpower. Now, traditionally, they're doing that by that organic growth strategy, increasing their internal teams, courting more of their long-term sort of partners, bringing them into the fold like they did with Bluepoint and Housemarque. But again, it's like, as we said, if Microsoft keep acquiring more studios and even another publisher, I don't think their organic growth strategy is going to be fast enough. I think they may just get overwhelmed. Maybe I'm wrong, but look, it's for them to increase the frequency of the output without compromising, cohesion and quality. They're going to probably need to increase their manpower in some way, and that could be, as you said, like as Akira said, some studio acquisitions. But I hate to say it, one of the solutions may be a publisher acquisition, Japanese publisher acquisition. Bring more teams into the fold, increase their manpower, and also has the extra benefit of preventing Microsoft from taking some of these key IPs off the PlayStation platform. So I don't want them to acquire a publisher. It's not what their business strategy is. It's not the organic growth they're known for, but I worry that they're being kind of forced down this road to prevent Microsoft or others taking IP from their platform, and it also will solve their, the manpower shortage. They'll get a few extra teams, increase their output. They'll save money. They don't have to keep paying Square or all these other companies the hundreds of millions they're paying. I'm not sure how much it was. I thought they'd spent like 500 million on exclusion.
Akira, I can hear Akira speaking Japanese in the background. I love that guy.
But that's it. I don't know who they're going to acquire, but I think they may have to consider sort of that inorganic growth and buying maybe Japanese publishers like Square Enix or Captain or Sega.
Yeah. So
I'm interested to hear your thoughts.
David, take it away, my dude.
Me or who?
David, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I thought Akira was going to say something.
No.
No, David, you go first. I'm kind of cooking right now. I'm just listening.
Cool. What's for dinner?
Nah, it's actually breakfast, man. Different time zones.
Shit. Sorry. Sounds good. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So I'll try and just limit my piece today for the topic. What's being discussed. So, yeah, I think in terms of publisher acquisitions, like you said, Capcom and Square Enix, any of the big Japanese-owned ones are safe. And I say they're safe. Sony doesn't have to rush out and get them into the fold, is because they're all protected by the Japanese government. Effectively, if Tencent or Microsoft or someone wanted to try and buy one of the, Square Enix or Capcom or Konami or any of those ones, all the boss of Sony will just ring up the Prime Minister, like he talks to him every second week, and just say, look, don't let that go through. We need them. They're a critical business to such and such industry. Don't allow that acquisition to occur. And the Japanese government will just put a big do not approve stamp on it, and that's it. So the Japanese ones probably aren't they're critical to Sony, but they're not as critical for them to purchase them, as much as there's one in the pipeline for discussions at the moment, but we're probably not going to hear it. This deal with Activision is not going to force that to come out in a hurry. As for South Korea and China, Vietnam, Malaysia, and some of those other Asian ones, this acquisition of Activision Blizzard is consolidating and monopolizing. Well, it's not even monopolizing. It's consolidating a position for Microsoft within North America. Outside of North America, they've only got a couple of countries in Europe, and they are effectively non-existent anywhere else. Most of the Xboxes and Game Pass subscriptions outside of 5 countries or 6 countries is effectively expats. So Microsoft is consolidating their position to dominate in a very small area. Now, if PlayStation has to give up the US effectively in 3 or 4 years' time to have cracked into China, well, geez, I'd tell you what, that's not a bad trade-off.
It's not. It's really not. People are underestimating.
It's pretty huge. So, and I'm a little bit. I disagree with Akira on a couple of little. Let's say they're really minute little points. I don't think Sony needs to go harder and aggressive because I feel that their plan already was fairly hard and aggressive. They can still maintain that. Oh, it's insane how much goodwill they've got. I mean, look at China Hero Project.
Yeah.
If they had a conversation that said, all right, we're going to have that conversation, say, well, you guys, you can put it on whatever platforms you like. You have to have it on ours. Well, now you have to have it on ours for the first 2 years. You're going to have it on PS and PC, PS and Switch, PC and whatever it is. You just can't put it into a streaming service for 2 years. That doesn't make a massive impact to their initial plan, but it stops anyone else from jumping in on it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then, like the other one.
Sorry, Kara, are you there, bro? Are you talking?
Sorry, no, 1 sec, guys.
Sorry, carry on, David. Sorry, bro.
I when I jumped on, I was really keen to listen to what DZ was saying, like his perspective, and that's why I didn't want to talk today. I wanted to hear DZ
honestly,
and Wilhelm and the rest of those crews.
What DZ provided was insight. Yeah.
What he was talking about was exactly the sort of stuff I needed to hear, because I hear all the business side of things, and I see all the business side of things, but I don't hear a lot from the developer side. And I actually wanted to put it to him. I said, look, if Microsoft has done what they've done, and they've done what they've done because they're trying to switch from a Netflix-style subscription service to a Disney-style subscription service, being instead of paying for content from third-party providers to be in there, they're just trying to own it all so, they don't have to worry about buying it in all the time. Mm-hmm. It's got benefits in a lot of different directions.
Facts.
It's actually a really smart investment decision from Microsoft in terms of what they're trying to do. And like Odie said, they can't develop the stuff. Like, PlayStation goes out and engages in, Haven. They go out and have a chat with Jade. Jade gets the money. Jade builds the studio. Within 5 years, they've got a game. Like, they've only been at it for 12, 18 months, I think. And they're saying, the back end of 4 or 5 years, they'll have the game there. Microsoft can't do that. They don't have the pipeline to go from nothing to something that'll get in the 80s Metacritic. They've got to go and buy all this content in. They've got to buy the IP in. Now, if they go and buy all this stuff in, they've got all these people working, all that, they're still going to churn out 60, 65, 68 Metacritic stuff because that's the filler.
Sorry, I muted Akira temporarily. Carry on.
You're right. They're hardly going to get. They might get 1 or 2 a year in the 80s. Like, just the amount that they have to churn out to maintain the number of games they need to keep that service going. It's going to be quite intensive. I mean, what's value for money for $15 a month? Mm-hmm. At the moment, what they've got in there is not. You're talking 12 to 1,500 games minimum, and they'll have games as services. They'll have stuff that carries on, but they're never going to have that big top shelf, high quality games like they used to, because they don't need them. They don't need to spend the money, and that's always been a factor in it. If you go back and look at Sony, their current business plan and their current ambitious program is quite aggressive as it is, but they're trying to push into global markets. They've got Europe. They've got a stronghold in North America, but they've got Europe. They're trying to get Eastern Europe. They've pretty much got Australia and Southeast Asia. They just got to have a big push in. They're trying to get China and India. Mm-hmm. So as long as they remain profitable, Sony could be dead last in terms of the big four. But as long as they're remaining profitable, they don't care. They'll never compromise quality in an attempt to try and outdo someone else. And that's always been Sony's deal. Sony was the biggest company in the world at one stage. Number one company in the world at one stage. Mm-hmm. They were number one in making TVs. They're not there anymore, but they didn't stop making TVs.
And now they're rivaling. They've just rivaled, if not beat, the LG C1 with the latest TV innovations. Yeah. I mean, they're pushing, bro. They're pushing.
They are, but the limit of their quality is never going to be trumped by just a mass output of quantity, right? Mm-hmm. So, and it shows. Like everything Sony does is a high quality piece of kit. They put huge amounts of R&D into it, and it's unrivaled in a lot of senses. And the easiest way to compare them is to say, well, not that you should compare different companies across different places, but Sony's like Ferrari. Mm-hmm. They make high quality, but they don't make a lot of them, but they make high quality. Whereas Microsoft, you could say, is like Ford. They make bucket loads of stuff, cheap cars, like it's cheap and it's easy to get into and the turnover's high, but the quality's never top shelf. You know, they get close occasionally, but it's never top shelf. Mm-hmm. So, and quality sells. You can sell quality quite easily, and the mind share that they have is insane. So,
facts, dude.
Sony doesn't need to panic. What it might do is it might force them to do things a little bit earlier than what they had planned. Mm-hmm. But they certainly don't need to panic.
I think me and you, bro, we're on the exact same page. I could not agree more with you. Everything that you've just said, you're spitting absolute facts. Yep. Carry on. I just wanted to say,
no, you're right.
Like, wow.
That's all right. I like, and touch on a few points. So like Deezy was saying, if I was in an independent developer's position, I would be terrified about this, but I wouldn't be terrified to the point of I might as well give up. I would be saying, right, well, I'm not going to look at Microsoft and Xbox. I'd just shut them out completely. I'll go and talk to Tencent. I'll talk to PlayStation. If I go and talk to Deviation, guess who owns a percentage in Deviation? Sony does. Who owns a percentage in Annapurna? Sony does. And guess who else owns shares in them? Tencent and NetEase.
Preach.
And NetEase is apparently looking at doing their own publishing stuff in-house as well. So if you've got 3 out of the 4 big guys, all of a sudden, all 4 of them have got their own publishing houses, but 3 of the 4 of them are working together because they're not trying to bang everything through a subscription service to compete in that zone.
This could backfire on Microsoft quite a big.
This could either be the best thing that Xbox has ever done, or this could be the first nail on the coffin for Xbox. It's a big move, and it is a definitive move either way. Yeah. But, Tencent and NetEase, both big Chinese companies. Embraer Group's another one. They're big in. They're not as big as the other ones, but they're big in, and they own a fair amount of it. They're not going to be competing against Sony in terms of, well, we won't put our games on your platform because they don't own a console. And while Xbox is making consoles, well, then there'll always be that argument. But Sony's not going to care if Tencent come out with the first-person shooter that would belt the pants off Call of Duty. Sony will just sit there and go, yep, no worries, bring it on. We'll chuck it on here because it's going to, Call of Duty is going to last another couple of years on PlayStation. Mm-hmm. And then it'll definitely go Xbox exclusive because Xbox would be nuts not to. Like, you don't spend that kind of money to not do that.
To be honest,
Call of Duty goes...
Go on, sorry. Carry on. I was just going to compliment.
No, Call of Duty... I just about guarantee you Call of Duty goes Xbox exclusive once the PlayStation deal runs out. PlayStation will have had a business continuity plan around Call of Duty failing because, they stump up the money to get it built, but let's be honest, Call of Duty hasn't really been that great the last few iterations.
No. They rested on their laurels.
Yes, it's making a lot of money, but they're doing it lazy. And again, that's why it makes sense to go to Microsoft.
Exactly.
They're doing shit lazy and they're making money.
Exactly.
There's no quality there. So in 2023, 2024, when Call of Duty all of a sudden goes Xbox exclusive and the arse end falls out of it because PlayStation quality control is not hammering down the door telling them to try and fix it, what have they got? They've got a couple of years to spit and polish whatever first-person shooters to rival Call of Duty are coming out. You imagine an in-house Call of Duty from PlayStation. Spit, polish, absolute fire. No, it's a no-brainer. So people say, oh, Call of Duty, we're going to lose our players. Well, yeah, people doing cross-play between PlayStation and others when it goes to Microsoft, well, fair enough, you're going to miss out on that. But, hey, guys, look at this new one coming out that is basically Call of Duty on steroids, and it looks like a freaking Maserati. The other one looks like a dodgy old bloody 1960s model Mercury Cougar. I
love it. Preach, bro.
And that's why I say PlayStation has to worry because they have to worry about their industry. They don't care. They'll make their money, they'll hit their ROI targets, and they won't sacrifice quality. Yes, we might not get those couple of games that we've always wanted, but I didn't have any interest. I had no interest in Crash Bandicoot 4. That thing looked like an absolute garbage mess. It looked nothing like what Crash Bandicoot should have been. And it hasn't been for a while, in my opinion. But, you know, they banged that thing out, and it did okay. They did Crash Bandicoot, the kart racing. They ripped that one out, give it a new coat of paint, and flogged it out in the market again. It's just lazy. You know?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's
mate, you preach. Honestly, like Faulkner, me and you were on exact same line of reason. Before you arrived, I actually made a statement. I said, meanwhile, Sony have the advantage of both time and talent, whilst Microsoft spend years seeing this purchase through, honouring all their contractual agreements, deciding what old IPs to bring back versus relying and milking the dominant cash cows that they have right now, active. Sony are on full speed towards what's going to be an even better 23 and 24, because not only do they have the goodwill of the industry, and Microsoft have just put a big red mark on their back and generated bad will from the industry and not a good look, for idle income that they don't even need, right?
And it's worse too, because when they flick, you look at the financial performance of Activision Blizzard. The thing was cratering in terms of share price. It had dropped $30 billion worth of market cap in the last 6 or 7 months. And Microsoft overpaid big time for it, but we don't know how they've acquired it yet. Is it straight cash? Is it a share swap arrangement? How are they getting their hands on it? So the value that they've paid could be a little bit smoke and mirrors anyway. But $70 billion worth of value to buy out a company that's in decline. It's got bugger all coming down the pipeline. Diablo 4 doesn't look that flash. World of Warcraft's been stagnant for a while.
Call of
Duty might as well be.
Nintendo guy was literally saying, Dreamcast guy was literally saying he can't get into a filled lobby anymore. Yeah.
They might as well take Call of Duty out the back and shoot it. Like, seriously, it's got that much wrong. How is the next one going to fit on a Series S? How the hell are they going to fit the next Call of Duty on a Series S?
Whilst in the meanwhile, Firesprite are creating a groundbreaking multiplayer shooter. I mean, it's just,
but you know, like, it's a deal. It's same as ZeniMax. The thing was dying in the arse. We call them a zombie company. They've got value sitting there because people believe in their potential, but they're just not doing anything. And it takes a massive market disruption to get them to actually fold. So Microsoft went out and bought these two because they're in decline. Sony only has to replace, I think I worked it out the other day, because they put $100 million in to get Call of Duty every year, and they do all the marketing for themselves. They don't have to spend that $150 million in marketing or whatever it is every year now to market Call of Duty, so they get that money back. They don't have to spend the $100 million funding the damn thing, so they get that money back. And they had to replace $350 or $400 million worth of revenue generated from the game release anyway. Mm-hmm. So if you offset the cost savings against the revenue income, Sony only has to plug $250 million in a year. In a year, $250 million. It's in the fucking rounding between the foreign exchange stuff. It's insane. It's not great for the industry. And I know I'm getting wound up here. It's not great for the industry.
Mate, your rants.
No issue for Sony.
Dude, you're the next Mooch. You are the next Mooch, and I fucking love it. Honestly, my guy, you're spitting facts and music. Honestly, HD Gamer, I'm curious. Has what Faulkner has said kind of given you any kind of reassurance, or like, I don't know, added to your perspective in any way? Like changed anything? How you feel?
Definitely. I thought that point about see, I hadn't considered that if they are forced to churn out even more content than what I suggested, which is those 10 plus games a year to fill this subscription service, because they're not going to rely on third party stuff anymore, then I think he's right. The quality of those titles might be impacted because they've got to produce more than 10 a year. It's going to impact it. I was more looking at it, if they don't, there are still a lot of studios Microsoft do have acquired. They already do produce the 80 plus Metacritic games, so I was thinking they could continue to do that. But if they have to increase their output, and as he said, tailored towards a subscription service, I think it will impact their quality. So it is a good point. Yep. They may start, as he said, the RCN may start falling out of some of these titles. Yep. Great point on PlayStation's QA impact on Call of Duty. I hadn't considered that without PlayStation there to keep them in check, Microsoft's not brilliant at that. It's probably a likely scenario that it does continue to drop. I would say that I think I think PlayStation is definitely going to have some big, like, quality first-person shooters. I'm just not sure. Like, Call of Duty is in decline, but it's still selling. I think the Call of Duty Modern Warfare sold like 30. The remake sold 30 million. I think the latest ones are like, maybe they've got to be above 10. I think they've been charting in the top end of the MPD charts pretty much all year. And Vanguard, as much as it copped a lot of shit, it's still, I think, at the top of the MPD charts for sales. So he's right. I think sales, it's still going to be hard to sort of knock them off. And in my opinion, and you probably agree with me, Wally, I thought Killzone 2 looked better than anything Call of Duty released.
Bro, Killzone 2 defied reality. People, I mean, the Xbox community, the fanboy community, not all the Xbox community, have the audacity to kind of slate that game as a catfish, that it released nowhere near like the CGI trailer. But that trailer, let's just debunk a few things. That trailer was not meant for public viewing. It was actually sent to it was released accidentally, basically, against the devs' knowledge. The devs had no idea. And when they realized that this pilot CGI trailer that was meant to inspire the devs, it was a concept. That was all it was a concept. This is what we want you to aspire to. Was released. Guerrilla took up the mantle and went, well, fuck me. Okay, then we don't have a choice, do we? Let's do it. And they freaking did it. I mean, they came so close to that trailer when you actually really look at it. In some ways, they did better. In other ways, they didn't. Like, for example, hair motion and certain kind of lighting. Killzone 2. But
Killzone. Sorry.
But I tell you what, guys, they've done better than anyone else could, hands down. What they did was a miracle.
I think the level of immersion in that game, like, just even I sat there shooting a gun in the indoor areas, and the reverb, the sound in that game was amazing. The explosions, like, I'm just saying that I thought that was above anything Call of Duty did for the next 10 years. And I think Shadowfall, for as much criticism as it got, I still think it's one of the best looking shooters of last gen. And my point would just be that, as good as I think they are, still they didn't touch Call of Duty in sales. So it's still, I don't know what it is about it. Call of Duty, sometimes I think it's absolute garbage, but it still seems to sell. And I think that I've got a lot of excitement, as you said, Willie, about the Deviation games and Firewalk and their potential. And I think, as Dave said, but to me, I'm a little hesitant. They're not surefire things. I'm really hopeful they're going to be big hits. But
I think their potential has more likelihood to realize itself than Microsoft's potential. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm about to go as well, so I'm gonna do this last.
Yeah.
So just to explain the Japan
Akira,
thing, because a lot of people. Sorry, go ahead.
If it's okay, David, are you okay? Just hanging fire and Akira
Sorry, David.
going with this. Is that all right?
Yeah,
I'm about to.
He was mid thought.
I'll jump on the simmer, mate.
Yeah, nice one. All right, Akira, take it away to give people
So,
context. You give it. You say it.
Yeah, people need to come down with the backwards compatibility tease because this is not what it's all about. All right, that PlayStation Japan post is for Japan only. All right. 1, 2, 3 is January 23rd, and 1, 2, 3 is another way of saying in Japan, "Let's go," because it's a way to build hype for the most popular singer in Japan, which is Kenshi. Kenshi is the most popular singer in Japan. He is going to have a commercial with PlayStation, and the special thing about this commercial, why Japanese people are very excited about it, is because he's going to reveal a new song along with the PlayStation commercial. Now, again, Kenshi is the most popular singer in Japan. Everybody in Japan loves this guy. Everybody in Japan knows this guy. All ages knows this guy. Even little children loves this guy. He made a song called Paprika, became the children national anthem in Japan because of how much children loved it. All of his songs, and I'm not exaggerating this. All of his songs went viral and are being listened to repeatedly. That's why when you look at his YouTube channel, his views is more than the Japanese population because they repeatedly watch or listen to the songs.
That's amazing.
This guy is a massive deal. I have never seen him market a lot of stuff. That's why this was such a major surprise to me. Again, if this guy is going to reveal a new song as himself in a commercial, best believe everybody in Japan is going to see that commercial.
Yeah. So for those who are watching, this is the trailer. This is like a teaser of the song.
Yeah, teaser for the commercial. And it sounds so good.
To put this into perspective, Kenshi is bigger to Japan, according to Akira, than Michael Jackson was to us.
Yeah.
So I mean,
exactly.
He's
So
pretty much Pharaoh. By the sounds of it.
I'm trying to paint a picture of people that again, this commercial will be popular in Japan because he's there and he's promoting a new song and he has a dual sense in his hand while promoting this. It has a PlayStation logo, Play Has No Limits. It's the biggest marketing move I have ever seen in Japan for a long time. And they have Kenshi is the most popular singer in Japan since 2020. He has been let's say You
made a great point earlier on, I think, as well as Zuby Tech did, and Faulkner. Why would they have this trailer if they didn't have anything to appeal to the Japanese market? Of course they do. Sony have things in the works right now that will not only appeal to the Japanese market, but along with this trailer, I mean, you're going to see an explosion. They are pretty much PlayStation now the face of... I mean, Kenshi is the face of PlayStation in Japan, right? Was I saying China then?
Yeah.
I meant Japan. Sorry.
No, Japan. And this is the thing, man. This is the thing about Kenshi, right? Kenshi is also popular in Asia.
Yeah.
And one second. I'm
no worries, brother.
Looking at my, looking after. Yeah. So Kenshi is, of course, massively popular in Japan, but also extremely popular in Asia. And again, he's going to be the face of PlayStation in Japan starting tomorrow, and that's a big deal. Because again, it's for everybody who love this guy, and basically this guy is saying, you know what, is the PlayStation. Basically him saying I love a PlayStation is going to make a lot of people who don't even play a PlayStation might play a PlayStation. That's how strong his influence is. And what do you call this? I'm extremely excited because I'm a huge fan of this guy. He's been the biggest Japanese artist since 2020. His YouTube channel, or he has the most views for a Japanese artist. He has the most concerts abroad for a Japanese artist. He achieved a lot of shit for a Japanese artist, and he's also a Vocaloid, which is another scope of popularity for more people than he already is. So
Yeah,
again,
it's
this guy's a big deal. Is marketing PlayStation. It's such a big marketing move. I don't know why PlayStation needs such a big move, because they've been silent last year. Marketing, there is almost nothing. They were extremely quiet marketing wise, and then they made a big splash all of a sudden. That's why it's really surprising.
yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds huge.
So
bro.
yeah, let's see how it all unfolds. But yeah, I'm gonna need to go.
Hey, Akira, bro, much
take
love, congratulations, much love to your wife, yourself, and your beautiful baby girl, and thank you for
Thank you so
being with
much.
us. It means a lot. Take care, bro.
Thank you.
So,
Take care.
yeah, before David Faulkner continues, by the way, I just want to say, David, that rant that you did, bro, was just absolute fire, because you really kind of, I don't know, you certainly resonated with me, what you were saying. I could not agree more with you. And at the same time, it kind of puts into perspective just how confident, in such a strong, confident position PlayStation is, and how really this was more a gamble for Microsoft. Not a gamble per se, because they're not losing much. They're only losing potentially 70 billion, right? And that's nothing to them. It's not about money. It's about goodwill, but also actual success in achieving the goal that they're trying to achieve. They're trying to be the number one of a gaming platform, but I really think this isn't going about it necessarily the cleverest of ways. I do think there's just as much chance of it backfiring on them because of the powers that like you said, the three giants, Tencent, is it Netmarble, the other one that you mentioned, and PlayStation. Yeah, I think it was them three, wasn't it? Was that it? Faulkner? No, he's not there. Okay. Are you guys there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh,
Can you hear me?
I just chatted to myself. Sorry. I'm such an idiot. I am such an idiot. Nobody cares, Wooly. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, no one cares. Go home.
Yeah, you got go.
No, sorry about that. I had it on mute. Didn't
That's
realize I was
hilarious.
chatting. I was on mute.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, no.
Those
10 NetEase.
NetEase, not Netmarble.
Embraer
NetEase,
Group.
yeah.
Yeah.
And PlayStation. I mean, they work together, right? They're not enemies. And to be honest, flipping out, Microsoft are like the freaking Mongols trying to invade and just take everything, and it's not going to work out. I don't see it happening.
No.
But I don't want this to sound like a conjecture rant. I don't want to sound like a pony version of Froscurin. Shout out to her. But at the same time, it's just reminding people that if all they can see is this 70 billion in front of them, and they can't get their heads around it, and the name Activision. Think about this. I mean, Leviathan Gamer, shout out to him, provided an amazing point. PlayStation regularly spends 70 billion. Every few years, they've spent that amount on their gaming division. Not on acquisitions particularly, but it's not just acquisitions that make a platform. You can acquire till the flipping cows come home, but if you don't have the infrastructure there to nurture the products that the consumers want from these acquisitions, and all you're chasing is flipping cash cows with a handful of IPs that may rake in a lot of money, and that's good for business, it is not necessarily good for you and me, because what we want is lots of games. We want many games that to continue to supply us with amazing experiences, a diverse range of experiences. Sony clearly know that. That's why they go and invest in many studios. They don't. I'm just rambling, but you get my point. So carry on. Sorry, Faulkner. Finish your point.
No, you're all good. I can't remember what the point was now.
Shout out
I forgot what.
Shout out to Renato Howard. Wooly Gamer, you should definitely put timestamps for this podcast. Everyone needs to hear what's being discussed here. I appreciate that, brother. I will. Timestamps. I do tend to timestamp the podcasts when I can. Last week's was timestamped, and as for this week's, I will make sure it's timestamped. So thank you for that. Yeah. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, that's all right. I suppose pick it back up. I made a comment just earlier about Microsoft's trying to move from, they appear to be making actions to try to move from a Netflix style service to a Disney style service. I'll expand on that just a fraction, and then I'll say something I hope they do that you guys will not like. So Netflix has a couple of its own production stuff, right? They produce all of their own stuff, and a lot of it's pretty rubbish, but occasionally they get a good hit. So they got The Witcher, Squid Games, and a couple of others, but they got a heap of garbage in there that they make themselves as well, right? And it's just full of content, make you feel good for spending your $10 a month, 15, $20 a month, whatever it is now. They aren't profitable. They're never going to be profitable. They just can't do it, right? So instead of paying all that money to go and get content in and have to keep paying money to get content in, what they've now done is they've attempted to do what Disney did, which is when they bought Fox. They bought a crap load of stuff. When Disney bought Fox, they bought heaps of shows that all of a sudden became Disney property, and they stuck them in their streaming service. Most of those shows are seasons that run 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years long. So it's filling out their service. It's giving them ownership over that service, and it's allowing them to bring Activision in to say these are all our IPs now. Everything that's been released on previous consoles and all that, they're not going to haul it off because there's no value there. So everything that's already been released, which is on consoles, is up for sale. It's fine. They're not going to pull that off and say, no, you can only get it in here now because it's already there. What they are going to do is everything new coming down the line is going to end up in Game Pass because they need it there to drive people to want to buy it. And they won't stop there. And this is the bit that you guys will probably not like me for saying. I hope they buy Ubisoft and I hope they buy EA. Because by doing that, they're going to have a heap of stuff that goes in there.
Who? You hope Xbox buy Ubisoft?
Yep. I hope Xbox and Microsoft buy Ubisoft, and I hope they buy EA for a couple of various different reasons. Ubisoft going into...
Oh shit! Let's hear him out, and then I'll hear DZ's rebuttal.
Keep going. I want to hear it. I want to hear you.
Take it away, David. Oh shit! We need to timestamp this. Oh my god.
Ubisoft going into... Is Microsoft buying Ubisoft? Look at what's there at Ubisoft. They're very similar to Activision. They've got great IPs, long list of IPs. Heaps of them are sitting dormant. The stuff that they're running with at the moment is having more and more trouble getting to market and more and more trouble actually being of quality. Now, same with EA. They do the same thing every year. They bang out the same shit every year, most of the time. And I mean, EA is their games bit, not as a publisher so much, but EA is their games bit. By doing that, and they say all these new future games, once the contracts expire, are going to be in Game Pass. There'll be contracts that take 2 or 3 years for it to all happen, right? Well, it gives the industry a chance then to shift or pivot to say, right, we're not having this and we're not having that, we're not having that. We'll have to find something to fill it and actually come up with competition for it. Assassin's Creed, all of that stuff that's currently everywhere, if that ends up in Game Pass in 2 or 3 years' time as a Game Pass exclusive, well then that's fine because I'm not sure how many different ideas they can come up with that aren't regurgitating the same thing. Ubisoft aren't really pulling out anything new. I don't see anything coming down the pipeline that's new and exciting. It's getting lazy. And EA is doing the same thing. They're getting lazy. The main reason I'd like them to get EA is because then it would force the bloody FIFA to renegotiate those stupid bloody licensing deals. Because EA's got the license for FIFA, but what's EA worth if they don't have that license? So if it forces them to go out to the market and actually get some value for those licenses, well then good. We might actually find somebody else picks it up and does a better job of it instead of spitting the same bloody game out every 12 months. Or we get competition where, I wouldn't say Pro Evolution Soccer is the one that is a good example, but the guys that make MLB, all of a sudden Sony goes, well, we don't have FIFA anymore. Let's make our own and see how we go. We talk to the licensing guys and all of a sudden the license for the World Cup, they bring back FIFA World Cup and it's on PlayStation and Switch or something like that. So if Microsoft are going to keep going down that path because they have to, they don't have any choice. They can't build the shit themselves. They've tried it and they've failed twice. They've got to buy them. I would rather they buy the ones that are zombie companies that still have good money on them and are worth something, and then people can move to a different section. Tencent and NetEase are doing the same thing as Microsoft, and they're making Microsoft panic because Microsoft doesn't want to have to pay out huge money to Chinese-owned companies to put games in their gaming service, and it's competing against their gaming services anyway because Tencent's got their own gaming service in China. Game Pass is never going to crack those guys, and that's a big issue for Microsoft. But if they just continue to buy small development houses all the time, then they'll kill the independent scene. Absolutely kill the independent scene for exactly what DZ said before. They say it's in Game Pass, so you get nothing. Where else are they going to go? Sony seems to be the only ones interested in growing the industry by, growth, and the other three are just buying them up because they couldn't be bothered. They don't know how to do it. But that's my perspective of it. It will not be an instantaneous thing if it did happen. Those deals would take some time to get through. Microsoft isn't even close to monopolizing this thing. In North America, maybe, but not worldwide. So if it allows space in the industry, monopolizations are crap, but there's always that market disruptor. And I used the example on a couple of Twitter posts. When the music industry got monopolized by 3 or 4 big companies and all these people got sacked and all the artists had to conform to X, Y, Z, and creativity basically became an indie scene where no one made any money, Apple pops up, Apple Music. Oh, you make your own music. You can upload an entire album to Apple Music for $50 and you get the money out of the streaming. And all of a sudden the music industry just went, shit, we need to do something about this. And, look at it now. There's umpteen streaming services and people can make their own albums and publish their own albums and own their own music and all that shit, and they don't have to deal with it. PlayStation's organising itself to be able to be that disruptor by continuously doing the Haven and Firewalk and all those sort of ones. They've got shares and investments in Epic, Katakara, talking about it earlier, Annapurna and those other ones. They've got shares in and have controlling ability in some of these smaller companies to say, hey, we want you guys to work with these ones. China Hero Project's a great example. Sony doesn't publish any of that shit, but they've got their hands on it. They're showing young and upcoming development houses how to get the quality, how to do the right thing. There's nothing stopping them, and it'll be a market disruptor if these other 3 monopolise the joint. So anyway, that's my point on it. Easy, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I'm going to replay all of this and listen to this again to get my head round what you said. But wow, I mean, that I never thought of that. Everybody in the chat seems to agree with you. I'd love to hear DZ's thoughts.
Yeah.
My thing is, I don't know if I could get behind this, speaking it from a developer standpoint, because that creativity, if one company owns that monopoly, they bullhorn and coalesce and remove that creativity from the rest of the industry. Those things need the Ubisofts and the EAs need to exist within the industry because they do serve a purpose. Every now and then we get those innovative titles that will come. We all remember how, like, the problem with serialization is what I call it. You serialize everything. FIFA is serialized. MLB is serialized. Even, it comes out every year. Assassin's Creed is now serialized. That comes out every year. Those titles were at their best when they had they were at their best when those developers were not churning them out every year. It takes you get more innovation out of those things. So like we can all say that Ubisoft is sleeping on a lot of these IPs, but the reason why they're sleeping on a lot of these IPs is because they've ran out. Those IPs just have not been popular enough to withstand the test of gameplay iterations. So like pursuing some things that don't move forward with modern gameplay designs simply just won't cross the profitable line, which is why it takes so long for some games to get thoughtful reboots and everything, because it takes a very creative team to go back and crack in these things. And the risk of those things is that, like, even if they have these IPs and they want to revive them, it takes a whole lot of R&D and a whole lot of things for them to do that. And then the money that you're expecting to make from these reboots may not be worth it. So like just acquiring them because they're zombies, might move them over to one platform, and then what happens? Those franchises become serialized and they just get darker, more shallow than ever. And the team that could have created something special or a new IP, if they were given the chance, they no longer have that, because all they're going to be forced to do is to continue to consistently serialize these things. So like, I am fully against that from that perspective. Like, the Ubisofts need to exist.
Yeah.
I'm fully on board for serialization to continue, because what ends up happening is the series get on decline, and then suddenly they have to retire those series. Like, there's only so much you can do from it. Like Assassin's Creed, everybody can say that Assassin's Creed just isn't the best that it's been anymore. And we could also see that decline in Call of Duty. But like, it's been at its most popular during the Black Ops era and during the Modern Warfare era. But like, we could all agree that the quality of it all right now is just blah. And it's serving its purpose for saturating and providing revenue income for these things to keep for the industry to keep thriving. So like, if these kind of serializations happen and they get locked into just Game Pass or something, that profoundly affects the industry as a whole. Not just one person, or makes it better for Microsoft's bottom line, because we now have this marquee title, Call of Duty and Assassin's Creed. But that, in my view, it wholeheartedly affects the industry in more ways. So like, you're looking at a situation where the industry could combust from taking those things out, because they're no longer supporting the other ecosystems. They're all just going into one. So like, that's where my view is. So like, I vehemently disagree with that one. And like, there needs to be more thoughtful things to go about this. Like, Microsoft, like I said, when I started this, they're a $2 trillion company. They literally can sit and invest and use their money to plant flags in whatever hill they want to plant those things in, and establish studios. They could greenlight hundreds of IPs over from all 23 of their studios right now. Take the same 5 years to gestate an idea and then launch it, and up their quality. Spend that kind of money on their infrastructure of establishing a quality control that is a quality control or a quality assurance team that is just as world renowned as Sony's. Like, yes, it takes time for these things to do it, but they have the money to fast track those kind of things. Their money can buy a very strong quality assurance team that could help make sure that quality is reached, and they could put out these things, but they're not. They're going for industry consolidation because they somehow refuse to understand that they can do this. But like I said, it's not creatives that's running that company.
Sorry. 1 second. We're back. I'm really sorry about that, guys. Something's really dodgy with OBS. I will sort this, I promise, for the next podcast, 100%. Thank you for bearing with me.
Always edit that out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just where my thing is. Like, you can buy and spend your capital and buy studios. There's nothing wrong with that because acquisitions are a big part of business. Acquisitions and mergers, right? That's fine. Blizzard and Activision merged together. Squaresoft and Enix merged together. These things are necessary when you want to tackle and innovate within the industry. But to sit here and throw your money around when you clearly have the capacity, that money can go to, putting in the work to establish yourself as another high quality brand where it's very exclusive.
But David does have a good point in what he said about EA and Ubisoft being right now stagnant. I mean, stagnant is crazy. EA's best work has been from an indie developer that they funded, but I mean, not from one of their first house studios. And that's It Takes Two, right? Or did they not even fund that? I don't know if they did. Sorry, I might.
They
published it. Yeah.
Go on.
You finish up. No, Deezy, you finish up because I there's a couple of points you've made, and I want to zero in on them because I really want to hear your take on it. So finish up, and then I'll ask the question.
Yeah, no worries. So, in my opinion, even the zombie studios, I think, as you call them, which they are right now, even they can produce hits. Ubisoft used to milk the shit out of. Ubisoft used to bank a whole lot on the Tom Clancy IP, and with the Rainbow Six and stuff. And Rainbow Six, and when initially Rainbow Six was first introduced, there was a whole lot of innovation around it. The same thing with the Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell series. And those things have not produced enough. They have not withstood the test of time. And the innovation kind of just got stagnant with it. So it still did not stop them from creating innovative stuff like Assassin's Creed or what's the new one? The Division, which I think is one of their coolest brand new IPs that they've been able to create in a while. Or Watch Dogs when Watch Dogs first was released. But like I said, these studios, these creatives still need to be allowed to create. And serialization can happen and whatnot, but serialization leads to decline, and then once that decline happens, it kind of forces the studio to stop and reevaluate and then reintroduce and come together with new IPs and re-evolve themselves. So I don't think Ubisoft or EA needs to be acquired and be locked into something else, to one ecosystem, just to hope that another is going to pop up, because the industry is consistently folding in on itself and morphing, and new talent is coming and establishing themselves. And so there'll be other studios out there that will establish and create other new IPs, but these also IPs, they need to exist, and they need to be for everybody, not just an ecosystem, one ecosystem. They should be accessed freely, because there's a niche of people who want those things year after year. And, people like myself will love to dip into it every once in a while. Like I said, the last Assassin's Creed I've ever enjoyed was Unity. And I stayed clear away from everything else after that, because I understood the stagnation that was happening. So that's just where I stand on this. And yeah. Yeah, those are my thoughts.
You guys hear me?
What are your questions? Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. So I'm just traveling. I'm in and out of service at the moment. My main question was around my point, I suppose. My my point mainly around Microsoft picking up those two was to sort of clear out the old style third-party like mid-tier, upper-tier publishers, just to clear them out of the way, so to speak, so some new ones can move in. Because during market consolidation, that when companies get consolidated, it leaves room. And I'd really like to see some of these third-tier ones come in. That's why I say, from a business perspective, it makes good sense that if there's big gaps open up, it allows some businesses to step forward, to step up. But just from a developer's point of view, from your point of view, really, how does that transpire? Because I can see gaps all through the market. If Microsoft acquired those two, I could see massive gaps that can be plugged by some really top talented, small, mid-level companies that could then step up, like that they could step up, have like Annapurna, that would give them a chance to step up and fill the void where they can be doing their own games, but doing their own publishing for other ones as well, and allow them to expand. And expansion means more employment, and a bit more versatility and creativity available in the market. But that's just, they're not being oppressed by having a massive umbrella above them of these bigger corporate giants. And I'd rather not have American companies, I'd rather not have American companies ruling the roost in a lot of those positions. I'd like to see a bit more diversity, mainly because of I don't know what you call it, but it's their style, So the reason we don't like Microsoft doing what it's doing is they're being lazy. EA and what's the other big one? Is it Take-Two Interactive? Can't remember what the other one is. They get this lazy style about them, and it stifles a bit of their.
Hello, David.
Yep, I'm here.
David, hello. He's lost signal. He's back. Is he back? David, are you back?
Creativity.
David,
like you say.
David, can you hear me? David. David, we've lost him. He was kidnapped by Kangaroo Jack.
The network is shit in Australia.
David, are you back?
Network coverage probably is shit. I'll say this. I'll respond to his initial thing about this. Well, I'll say this. Annapurna in itself recognized that there were
innovative.
He's still talking, but doesn't know. He doesn't know that he can't be heard.
The way the harmony of the dialogue is being interrupted by shitty net.
Right. I'll say this. Annapurna recognized that recognized the rising cost of AAA and decided to establish themselves as the mid-tier and the indie publisher because he's still going. So with being a mid-tier publisher, there is clearly a very large hurdle that you have to jump if you're trying to get the attention of a first-party developer or attempt to do AAA studio publishing, and those resources aren't there. So the Annapurna's niche and the Devolver Digital's niche are those innovative small titles, because they also recognize that those titles are also going to be the lifeblood, and they'll set up the studios for their next thing. So they would not need to step up into AAA thing, because that totally defeats the purpose of them putting on that defeats the purpose of them putting on the inspirational smaller studios with limited limited resources for these titles. So like they wouldn't need to step up because they already fill that niche, fill that void. The studios with the big capitals are those the studios that are looking for broader reach and work in the AAA environment. Those are the ones that have already worked with the big AAA games already, worked with publishers on those bigger scales. And those people sign with NetEase, and those people sign with Tencent and Embracer Group because they have they have the kind of capital, or they'll go to a publisher, or they'll go to a massive publisher. So like the niche, as I keep saying, is like, if Microsoft continues to scoop these things up, you also take away the opportunities for a small studio like Hazelight to go to EA or go to Ubisoft to create these experimental titles. Like Hazelight, like we can all agree that Hazelight is a massive success right now as an independent developer, working with EA, because they're putting out these very curated and well thought out gameplay experiences. But like, you know, that kind of broad, massive reach, you know, they're capable of doing all those things because EA exists. Sometimes they need more money than what Annapurna can offer. Sometimes they need more money than what Annapurna could offer, or Devolver Digital could offer to realize those things. So these big third-party developers also do greenlight these very curated experiences. So like, when you take them off the table, when you take those people off the table and lock them behind one ecosystem, those developers that were looking for something still curated may be faced with a very difficult decision. Do they downsize their ambitions and work with Annapurna and have to create something that was just a fraction of their original vision, or do they risk going self-published and then combust and not be able to put the game out and cancel the whole thing altogether? Those things are very much still a big those things are still very much a big risk for the independent developer. So like, when you have EA and those other big third-party publishers, they still need to exist, like I said, because they also can provide certain things that other publishers can't. And it's just the necessary things. Like, game development is very broad, and there's different scales and sizes and of what a studio wants to create. And EA could probably be the one. EA probably, for Hazelight, was probably the thing that made sense for them, because EA probably provides a pipeline where they could get their games out to the broadest possible reach, but also have enough money within that thing to not compromise the scope of their creativity. And Annapurna might exist for the mid-tier developers, but they may not provide enough for them to do it. And there are different timelines and things that developers have to worry about, not just within the finance, but also within the scope of things and the resources that a specific publisher is able to provide. And studios might want, these creatives also might want to own their IPs. You may never know, because some publishers require ownership of the IP if they're going to publish these things. So like, or they want to retain full control for distribution and anything like this for a certain amount of time. So like, there's a whole lot of stipulations as what these people, as to what, who can step up and whatnot. But like, these, like I said, these studios and these publishers just need to exist because they exist. If you're looking at it from a game IP thing, they exist to create those things, but then they also provide different levels of access and avenues and resources for creatives of all sorts of size. And you don't know the experience or the level of what these developers are looking for. So like, they should just exist. They don't need to be scooped up. And that's just where I vehemently draw the line. Like, it may seem like a sound business thing to acquire IPs and have your IPs on your subscription package, which is fine. Create those damn things. You don't need to go out and acquire a whole fucking publisher to get that kind of content, especially when you are a $2 trillion company with near limitless assets to be able to do something like that. It makes no fucking sense. So like, that's where I am. So
that's a very, very good point. I'm gutted for David that he just gave up in the end because he's driving and it's low signal. But David, if you're listening, bro, thank you for joining us. It's greatly appreciated. I don't know if Wilhelm or HD Gamer have anything they want to add to this before we look to wrap this up.
I do. I was going to say I sort of have to jump off soon anyway. It was really great to hear from Dave and his point of view, and then DZ from his,
it's been fire.
Unique perspective. It's been really good, and I don't want to come across as like, I think it's good to disagree, and I think we've had some good discussion here, and I'd probably more align with DZ here. I think that, it may seem like a good business decision for Microsoft to pick up these publishers and that. And I know what the hope is, and I've heard it from the Xbox crowd too. Like, the hope is like Microsoft is this white knight who picks up these publishers and turns them around and changes their culture and all this. And I'm not as convinced of their ability to do that. I think they've got this hands-off approach with the companies they do manage, and that's because they're not able to manage the companies better than the companies manage themselves. So I just think them picking up Ubisoft, I agree, Ubisoft, EA are in a bit of a decline at the moment, but I don't think Microsoft can necessarily fix that. They can give them financial backing and creative freedom, but I don't think that's quite what they need.
Dead Space remake would become waste of space.
But, I mean, Steve was right. They do come up with a few gems, and I think the market could correct itself. So we did get Jedi Fallen Order, which I thought was amazing.
Yeah,
and,
exactly. There are these singular opportunities where it gives them a chance to, or even say like Apex Legends. Like, who can deny how amazing Apex Legends is? I used to be dead faced on that game a lot. I've kind of gotten out of it because I am not the biggest multiplayer shooter. I love my stories, but like every once in a while they're able to catch lightning in a bottle, and they're able to keep those experiences as great, which is what Dead Space and Dead Space 2 were fantastic. Dead Space 3 came out, and then they saw that they had a hit on their hands, but the thing is they got greedy and became very corporately thing and trying to push microtransactions and stuff. So like they there's a massive cult following behind Dead Space. Like, for me, when I said, when they announced the Dead Space remake, I literally said EA could get this ass because I've been dying for this game. Literally.
Dead Space looks phenomenal. Wilhelm, what about you, my brother? I'm sorry you've not had much time to speak. What's your thoughts on this, my bro?
There's really nothing new that I can really add to that. Like, everything that really could have been said, could have been brought up already has been brought up.
I'm in the same boat. It's pretty much all been summed up. And it's great that we've had a diverse kind of range of opinions on this particular subject. Faulkner threw a cannonball into the mix, and a few in the chat actually agree. Others agree with you, DZ and HD. And go on.
Like I said, I'm fully for discussions like this, because the different points of things help you to stop and consider the business side aspects. But like, the video game industry is far more creative than a business. It's a business, but it's a business industry, but it's a very creative-led industry. So like, I side more on the side of creativity than the business and the finances, because that's just what it is. The creatives are the ones that are creating these experiences, and they'll go to where they're able to leverage and harness their full creativity, and no money, you can't put a price on that kind of creativity. You simply can't. And the creatives are going to move to somewhere where they can get those things done, and those options are going to be there. So like, as a creative, if anybody's tuned into Woolly Gamers Hangout chat, you'll know all about my background and everything, because I got a little bit more intimate with Woolly about where I stand within the game industry and the things that I like to do, and why I sit so much closer to the storytelling side of things within the industry. So like, this industry, like I said, is a creative one. It's creative led at the end of the day, and which is why I have such a problem with how Microsoft is going about competing right now, and how this thing shakes me as an independent, and just my worry as a whole, because this is not creativity led. It's just a content war that they're trying to win by jumping ahead of the line, because they have not spent the 30 years or the 26 years like Sony has. Like, think about this, guys. Microsoft has been in the game industry now for 20 years. And the only time that they have been profitable and were producing great stuff and was in their shining era was the 360 era. 15 years ago, guys, 15 years ago. They have not taken their money and leveraged their money in the most creative ways possible since that industry stopped. They've shuttered studios, they've canceled and closed down the most creative deals, and they've just simply went on and bought. And they've not, like these recent purchases, these last 8 and this brand new 8 that they're buying are 16 studios that were never theirs. Those studios belonged to, ZeniMax was never theirs. And ZeniMax Publishing was never theirs, and Activision Blizzard was never theirs. They've never had any kind of facilitating relationship where they've produced exclusive content for Microsoft, or exclusive games for Microsoft. So, it is simply just is right now Microsoft is being a bully with their money, because they can. When you're that big, you can do whatever you want with that. But it's the wrong way to go about it with a creative-led industry. And you'd want them to spend the time. You'd want them to come in and spend the time, spend the history that Nintendo and Sony has, and build themselves up. Build themselves up like Nintendo. I know a lot of Xbox fans want to say Microsoft. It's not a big problem, because Microsoft, the monopoly talk is about contrasting who sells the most. But I'm like, that's not a monopoly on the system, because Sony didn't bully the system into being where they are. They put in the time. They've done their market research. They've upped their quality assurance. They've put out these strong titles. They've developed and cultivated their studios the same way Nintendo has. Nintendo games sell on average 20 to 35 million copies easily. Do you think Nintendo is going out and buying Activision when they're turning a fucking profit like this? They make very smart bespoke systems. And they really center in on the quality of the games that are coming out for their systems. So, Xbox fanboys, if you're in this fucking chat and you want to talk about monopoly, Nintendo is also selling 80 plus million units. And
we've got a few Xbox fanboys, I think, in the channel. We've got one who's trying to troll, but thank you to the mods who are dealing with him. Calling my wife all sorts of shit. I'm so glad David's made a return. Hey, brother.
Hey, mate. Sorry about that. Discord went catatonic on me.
Yeah. Oh shit. Was HD trying to talk then? Sorry.
I was just going to say I'm going to have to go soon. But I'll just sum up a few things, and then I'll jump off and I'll listen to Dave's response.
All right, brother.
Later.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you go, mate. You go.
Yeah, okay, I'll try and be quick. It's really just following up what Dee said. Look, I agree. I don't think it's Microsoft acquiring more of the publishers is going to really lead to an improvement in Ubisoft or EA. As I said, I don't think they're great at managing the studios they have. The idea that they're going to successfully resurrect some dormant IPs, I think they've got plenty of their own that they haven't really utilised properly. And then it's really just that those big the issues with the consolidation. I think we're kind of only considering it from if Microsoft continue to buy up these publishers, not if Microsoft, as a response to Microsoft, some other big players get involved and start buying up publishers as well, like, as we said, Facebook, Apple, or Google start buying up publishers of their own. I mean, Tencent at the moment, when they buy stuff, it doesn't really affect anyone, but they've just, I think there was some news recently, they're thinking of making their own handheld device. So if they start moving into the hardware space, maybe they will start having an impact like that. And I think to sum it up, like DZ put it pretty well. Like when those smaller devs are going to the big publishers to get the funding that the smaller publishers like Annapurna can't provide, having less publishers to go to, just it reduces the competition. They have less ability to negotiate their deals, to own their own IP or to sort of monetize it the way they want. And if Microsoft become more dominant and gain more market share, then it's going to be that case. I think Akira or someone talked about before, where Game Pass has an undue influence on the buying behaviors of the Xbox players as it is. And then, when people are buying fewer games, then the compensation to go into Game Pass is going to be less and less. And I guess the developers end up having to, to bow to sort of Microsoft's whims on how their games are monetized or sort of the return they get. It's not the consumers like paying the devs. Then it's like Microsoft saying you have to put the game in Game Pass, and this is the deal we're going to give you. And the devs like, well, it's not really viable not to have it in Game Pass anymore because the buying behavior is completely changed on that platform. And if Xbox become the dominant platform, that's going to be the dominant business model. And that's it. I think everyone's had some great points today, and I really enjoyed the discussion.
You finish your point, bro, and we'll wrap this up. Unless you have to go now, HD.
I'm going to jump off now.
Thanks very much, brother, for being with us today. It's been a long podcast.
Yeah, talk to you, Dave. Great to talk to you, Easy. Wilhelm, it's always a pleasure. And Willie, thanks for keeping it real. And I'll listen to the rest of this and talk to you on Twitter.
Yeah, appreciate you, bro. I tell you what, this podcast, much love, HD, much love. Thank you, brother. Brought great discussion. I tell you what, this podcast is going places when all of a sudden you've got trolls invading the chat like this. It's fucking amazing. So just keep
it on topic.
Keep it up, guys, because all you're doing is giving me traction. Seriously, you're helping the algorithm here. So thank you very much for all your support, and the fact that you feel so freaking threatened by my wife, it says everything. I mean, you're probably the one she trolled the ass out of on Twitter. So she set up a Twitter account to deal with people like you, and I'm guessing you're the victim. So. Keep rubbing that ass of yours, my dude. Thank you for the clicks. It's appreciated, and for the views. Hit that dislike button by all means. David, take it away, my brother.
I am having huge issues with my internet, so I'm probably going to drop out.
Me too, bro.
Stage again. I'm sorry, I didn't hear most of that. Sorry. I'm so sorry.
It's all good. It's all good, bro. You're trying.
This is probably the moment where we just gotta wrap this up.
Yeah, let's wrap this up, guys. We got viewers, folks. No, I do want to say though, bro, that everything you said tonight was absolute fire. The bits that we got towards the end, though fragmented, we were appreciated. DZ, thank you as always. Wilhelm, my bro, you were on fire earlier on. And everyone else who was on the panel who had to leave early, thank you so much. You all mean the world. Zuby Tech, you were awesome, my dude. And same to OT, of course, and HD Gamer. So thank you to everyone for a record-breaking show. I'm sorry there have been a few hiccups tonight, primarily pacing and issues with the internet. We'll continue to work and improve that, I promise you. I intend for this podcast to be every bit as technically I guess you could say, polished as the panel. And so thank you very much for your patience and for bearing with. This podcast is growing and growing, and it's amazing to see. Now at 660 subscribers, can you believe it? We were 640 when we started. So just amazing. Awesome. Guys, let's wrap this up. Where can we find you, David?
You'll find me at Forky87 on Twitter. Come and have a chat, get your numbers straight, and we'll get it sorted.
I love it. By the way, shout out to David. He's planning ambitious things in terms of setting up his own podcast and channel, and I'm intending to help him with that. It will inevitably end up being essential, and I mean it's going to be so much more essential than, I mean, your Colin Moriarty's and stuff like that, because there's a lot of credibility and knowledge and knowledge of the industry with David, and I'm guessing the guests that he'll have with him on the show. So I just wanted to take this moment to give David a shout out. Keep your eyes on this guy. Subscribe to him. He'll be going places. Trust me.
Appreciate it.
And same to my brother DZ. Thank you.
Appreciate it, mate. I'll catch you later.
My pleasure. Take care. Same to you, DZ. Where can we find you, my bro?
You guys could find me at DZ Devs, at DZ Devs on Twitter. I'm there right now. I'm colloquially known as War Chief DZ. But yeah, I will be. You can find me there if you want to chit chat or anything. Shoot questions my way. Ask me what I'm working on. I could tell you because we are working on stuff. But yeah. Also, I don't know if David already left, but I would love to pick this topic up on a Hangout chat or something like that. Awesome. Yeah, where we could get more deeply intimate and talk about these things.
We'll do
and
that.
Just kind of pick each other's brains. Yeah. So like, if you want to do that one of these Saturdays or something,
I'm down for that, my dude.
I'm game.
100%.
I'm game.
The Hangout's definitely more for that. It's tough with a podcast like this because everybody needs speaking time, and sometimes people can get missed out under all the conversation. So I'm trying to. I want to keep this podcast kind of more limited in people trying to be a bit more concise when we can. So we are all working on that, guys. We're still new to podcasts, so forgive me for that. I'm getting a few DMs, and I reckon, and I take on all your criticism and feedback, so thank you. Also, the Hangout will definitely be more intimate and be a kind of more of a long term, like you have a long, lengthy discussion that's more kind of fewer numbers, fewer people, so more mic time. So that's kind of the plan, and that's what the Hangout's going to be for. Keep an eye on that. It's my second show that's on this same channel, and it's really me and DZ had one the other week, and it was fire. So go check that out. Wilhelm, my brother Wilhelm, thank you so much, my dude. You've been as always a huge asset, and I loved your takes earlier on. You had quite a lengthy.
Thank you.
A lengthy rant, and I loved everything that you said. You really hit the nail on the head. So thank you very much for that. Where can we find you, my dude?
My Twitter ad is Maximus Wilhelm. Feel free to leave a follow, and remember, don't listen to the media and don't listen to the journalists, because they want solely to compete in a field where there's no competition and to evolve in a space where there's no future.
That is being made into a plaque. 100%. 100%. I'll be working on that tomorrow. I know I said I'd work on it, but obviously with the honeymoon I've been so busy. But that is a quote of quotes, my guy. So thank you. And we are now on 0%. The stream's crashed. Fuck it. Shit. Here we go. We're back. Sorry, guys, for the crash. Streams crashed, but no, thank you, Wilhelm. Appreciate that, my guy. Everybody, obviously the internet's packing in. The whole show's shutting down. Obviously, shit needs to end. The internet's had enough of this podcast. So we will see you next time on the Company of Gamers. Thank you so much for watching. You have all been awesome. Love you all to bits. Keep smiling. Stay awesome. Peace out.